I remember once a woman screaming at us, calling us animals as we dragged her son from their hut. We weren't animals. Animals are true to their nature, and we had betrayed ours. I cut that young boy's throat myself as his mother screamed, and my friends held her back. That night, I felt so shame. Shame was so heavy on me, I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. All I could do was stare into that dark sky and listen to that mother screaming her son's name. I'll hear her screaming the rest of my life. I know I can never bring that lad back. All I can do with time I've got left is bring a little goodness into the world. That's all any of us can do, isn't it? Never too late to stop robbing people, to stop killing people, and start helping people. It's never too late to come back.
And now, from the crypts of Winterfell, it's your favorite podcast of Thrones, Game of Microphones, with Sir Duncan and Lady Rachel. Winter is here.
Seven save you, friends, and welcome to Game of Microphones. I'm Lord Sterling, Sir Duncan, wielder of the Axe of Free Men, Charlene.
Nice. And I'm Lady Rachel of House Fox, the Overwhelmed.
And this is episode 99.
On this episode of our series Rewatch, we're covering Game of Thrones, Season 6, Episode 7, The Broken Man.
And in case you're not already aware, this series, Rewatch, is from the perspective of someone who's current on the show. That means you've seen up through Season 7. If not, there's still time to get stabbed in the gut by a waif posing as an elderly woman who makes sure to twist the knife so you don't have to hear these spoilers.
Warning.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Wow. What an episode.
Were you surprised to see Sandor come back when you first saw this?
When I was a first-time watcher?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness. The second I saw that big-ass guy carrying the log, I was like, that's the Hound.
Nice, really?
Yeah.
Sick. Yeah, I knew by the name, The Broken Man. I was like, oh shit, it's got to be Sandor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from book stuff, you know.
From the book?
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
But I was super, super excited. Obviously, I love the Hound, you know.
I know you do.
Yeah.
You have that cool helmet, too.
True. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So again, I feel like last episode was a little bit of a lull compared to all of the other episodes so far. And this episode kind of picks back up again.
Yeah, definitely.
And my goodness, we go a lot of places. We talk to a lot of people.
Yep. We don't see Danny this episode, do we, though?
We do not see Danny this episode, which is actually, I think, a little bit refreshing because the past several episodes have been very Danny-centric in her development. Definitely. And we've had a lot of episode endings with Danny with amazing shots. So I think I think this was done intentionally. It's a little bit of a breathing room with her story to let it settle and we can get excited to see her again. Yeah,
take out something where we've had a lot of recently and bring something new in, which is something old, in this case, Sandor Clegane.
Exactly. And we get a cold open.
Yeah, that's always fun.
Which they don't do very many.
Yeah. They're good on this show.
Yeah.
So what's your number 5? What do you got for the first one?
My number 5 is actually the cold open.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So we get a glimpse of Ray, and he's a happy guy.
He's so happy. And this scene starts out with everything being so perfect. And I'm surprised it lasted all the way to the end of the episode,
I know.
Because you can't be that happy for that long on this show.
No, that's how you know it's doomed. That's how you know this guy is only going to show up in one episode.
Must have been a fun episode as an actor. He had a lot of good lines and lots of
Dave was
fun
saying
dynamics.
he was in a couple other things too, like I think Deadwood.
And maybe American Gods.
Okay, yeah. So Dave, my husband, was super excited to see this actor when it first aired.
Nice. Yeah,
he was
I know a lot of people were.
And then he was super bummed that he got killed off at the end of the episode.
Right.
He was like, what the fuck? He was like a really good actor. They had him in for one episode.
They did us dirty with that.
For sure. So, they're building a church essentially. And
it's pretty cool looking too.
I like it. It has like a fun little steeple and a nice little design. And I have to say, this episode has exceptionally good music. We get introduced to some new sounds that we've never heard before with Jaime. And in this scene, oh God.
It's like a slow version of the main theme, kind of.
Yes,
More
which is so
spacey.
cool because it flows right into the title sequence.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, man.
Yeah. And so we see them moving these logs and we get a perfect shot of the Hound. And I was really excited to see the Hound back.
Yeah, from behind. It's so funny. You can't see like who it is, but you're like, oh man.
You can't see his face, but it's this huge guy. Okay, so we get the guys carrying the logs, and each log is being carried by 2 or 3 people.
And they're like, oh, like the weight is crushing them.
And this one guy is carrying it on his shoulder like it ain't no thing.
Like nothing. That's the best. What a beast, man.
Yeah, and I love the title sequence of Game of Thrones. I don't think it gets talked about enough. I get so pumped. After as many times as I've watched these episodes, I never skip the title sequence.
Yeah.
Never. Not ever.
That's so funny. I do. I have, quite a lot.
I don't. I love it.
So, because I'm usually rushing to take notes. That's
probably, but
scrambling.
It gets me in the Game of Thrones zone.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it pumps me up.
If I'm just going to sit down to watch it, I will never skip it, for sure.
So my husband and I, we do powerlifting. He's way farther down the road than I am. I'm just getting back into it again. And when we're at the gym, we throw on Game of Thrones soundtrack, and it's pretty badass to do heavy lifting too.
Totally.
Yeah, nothing like trying to pump out a deadlift and having Game of Thrones on in the background. It's badass.
I'm thinking about doing like a electric guitar version of the theme.
Yeah, do it.
I got it all planned out kind of in my head.
Do it. That'd be so cool. So we actually do get to see that it's Sandor Clegane, and he's just working that axe.
Oh, yeah.
And Ray comes up and he's like, dude, I've never seen a guy as strong as you. Like, you wield that axe like nobody's business.
Right as he says that too, Sandor cracks down with the axe, and this one particular blow sends like a shooting spray
shards
of sawdust. like wood chips flying everywhere. It's hilarious.
Yeah. I think it's very cathartic for the Hound to chop wood, because he does a lot of it in this episode. I think he's been chopping a lot of wood lately.
He can imagine it's the mountain. He's not actually hurting anybody, but he's accomplishing something. And he's releasing all his energy.
It's therapeutic, and he's super strong, so he's good at it.
Yeah. He's a beast at it.
So Ray goes, how many men did it take to cut you down? Sandor's like, oh, it was just one. I thought this was kind of funny. It must have been some kind of monster. Do you think that might have been a hint to a Clegane bull in the future?
Oh man, maybe. That's pretty good. Pretty good thought. I hadn't considered that before.
Yeah, I've thought of this a few times as I've rewatched the series, that I thought this might be a hint, because it's very possible that we're going to get a Clegane Bowl, perhaps. And I think it may foreshadow how the Hound goes. I think the Mountain's going to kill the Hound if it happens.
Really?
If it happens,
oh,
yes.
Man, if there's a Clegane Bowl, you think the Mountain's going to kill the Hound?
I think so.
Damn. That's dark.
And I think so because of this line here. Because, you know, he thought, okay, well, he got cut down. He was going to die. And it must have been some kind of monster. It's either that or it foreshadows the Hound's death by one of like the White Walkers. Because I think I'm not sure Sandor Clegane is gonna.
Or maybe it could foreshadow just Brienne being like a beast and being important.
Oh, maybe that's true too.
Like, damn,
that's very true.
Brienne is a monster.
God! Like, what if Brienne kills the Night King?
Or what if she gets turned into a White Walker or something?
Oh fuck!
She's got the complexion for it.
I love this. As Sandor is still stacking the wood, he goes, "He was a woman."
Yeah, right.
And Ray just starts busting up laughing.
It's ma'am. It's great. He was a woman. I love how the Hound admits it too. Like, he doesn't try to hide the fact. He's not like, maybe he's embarrassed that he got beat by a woman, but even if he is, he's honest about it and tells the truth.
I think so. I think he's done a lot of soul searching since we've seen him last.
Mm-hmm. That must have been humbling too.
And because he was not into religion at all. He hated the idea of it. He mocked it. He made fun of it. And now here he is rolling with a septon.
Ah, this is true.
Yeah, so it cuts over to the camp and everyone seems very jolly. And nothing is jolly in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So you know something terrible is going to happen to these people.
Ray has just been like overly jolly the whole time. Like when Brienne or when Sandor says he was a woman, you know, Ray's like, ha ha ha, like laughing about it. And
he just starts cracking up.
Yeah, there's one point where he's like, right when he gets introduced, he's like, and like just like smelling the air, like how great it is. And you know, there's these people walk by with the logs over their shoulders, and he like ducks under one of them in between the two guys, and like, ho ho ho.
He like does like a little shuffle step.
Yeah. Like, yeah, it's so funny, man. It's hilarious.
It definitely is. So Ray comes up, Sandor's chowing down, and you know, they start talking, and Ray explains to the audience how the Hound was found.
Right.
He thought he had been dead for days.
Yeah.
He was covered in bugs and he stunk.
Right. And think about this. He was like, I was going to give you a proper burial, and then you coughed.
I nearly shit myself.
Yeah. So I was wondering, maybe he was dead. You know, and then like maybe a miracle happened with him too, or something, because he had you know, like it's like still alive sitting there.
So you think he might have been dead and then came back?
Maybe. I mean, who knows? Like, look at the condition he was in. How did he survive that?
I don't know, but
and then like bugs all over him. Like he thought he'd been there dead for days. Like think about when Arya left him there. He was like near death at that point.
Yeah, but like the only resurrections that we've seen have been with the Red. Do you think someone like came along and resurrected him?
Think about this. When he cleaved Beric Dondarrion in half, afterwards, when Beric was resurrected, he said he was absolved of the trial, basically. He was found not guilty by the Lord of Light, and he said that the Lord of Light still had plans for him.
Oh,
remember? And that's exactly what Ray says here.
Oh my God, I didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah, the gods aren't done with you yet, Ray says, coming up here. So I think that, you know, maybe the Lord of Light is keeping him alive. He even keeps him away from the disaster later on in the episode when everybody gets killed. It's like after Jon dies and is resurrected, he's sort of like invincible, like all the arrows at the Battle of the Bastards miss him.
Yeah, like a divine intervention.
Yeah, and so like maybe that's happening.
Oh my God, I love
Sandor
this
as well. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because how the fuck did he survive that?
Well, that's what I mean. He's just fucking stubborn and refused to die. But I mean, I
That's what
totally
he
agree
says.
and understand what you're saying, that, I mean, he was pretty close to death.
Yeah.
Days? Like, are we talking like 2 days, or are we talking like 10 days?
I don't know, where the point where he's like covered with bugs and
I would think that's like closer to 10 days.
Uh,
I don't know though, because he had like all those open wounds and stuff. The bugs could have come pretty fast.
yeah, and he's like, I was gonna bury you, and then you coughed, and that's like basically what happened with Jon. He like startled awake, and
Yeah.
like he didn't cough,
fuck.
but he like,
Like sucked in all the air they could.
yeah, and so he's like, Ray's like, I thought you were dead. I thought you were gonna die a dozen more times over the next few days, but you didn't. What kept you going? And I'm thinking, the Lord of Light. Sandor seems to have some kind of like perverse connection with the Lord of Light ever since his youth and the burning of his face when he was like face to face with his god, you could say.
Yeah, and Ray even brings that up in this scene too, because Sandor goes, why haven't they punished me? And Ray goes, they have.
Right.
They burned his face.
Burned his face, and then just like the torment that he like constantly lives with, like the regret of his, of things that he's done and things he's been forced to do. The shame he feels as like, I have it written down. Was it his torment is his atonement, and his redemption will be his repentance?
I love it. That's amazing. Great catch on that. I mean, I could totally see that being true, that he was resurrected.
The Lord of Light seems to have a soft spot for him, So, I mean, Melisandre wasn't even in the room when Jon was resurrected. Nobody witnessed it. So it's like the same thing potentially with a hound. Maybe that guy who just happened to witness it.
Maybe her spell didn't do anything and Jon just resurrected by himself.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. Well, that puts a wrench in it.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. Nice.
It's just something I keep thinking about every time. Yeah, it's so funny. He's like, what kept you going? I'm thinking the Lord of Light, and Sandor thinks and pauses. He's like, hate. I'm like, damn, dude, that's so hardcore. Fuck. That's fucking hardcore. And just like keeps eating, and it must be hate for his brother and
this everything.
Yeah. In the books, there's a similar type. This is not the same character that has this type of interaction with the Hound as he's dying, but there is a character who is there and talks to the Hound, and the Hound confesses his overwhelming hatred for his brother, and like how all he wants to do is kill the Mountain, basically.
Shit.
Yeah. So hate for his brother. I'm guessing.
Wow.
And Ray's like, no, there's a reason you're still here. And I'm thinking, the Lord of Light again, right? And Sandor's like, there's a reason. I'm a big fucker and I'm tough to kill.
I think you might be onto something with that too, because who do they run into in this episode?
Who? Oh,
they run into red priests.
Right. And Sandor kills them.
Yeah, he ends up killing them.
At least, I don't know if they're priests, but they're at least like followers
yes,
of
that's
the
true.
Red
That's
God.
true. But they were wearing red.
Yeah, Lem Lemon Cloak, and a couple other guys. Lots of interesting book stuff with those characters.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm a big fucker and I'm tough to kill. And Ray's like, no, a reason. The gods aren't done with you yet. And like a smile flicks across his face. Like he's such a upbeat, positive character. And I love how this is like exactly the type of influence that Sandor needs in this part of his life, or this part of his, after his second birth, where he's got a positive influence that's pushing him in a positive direction towards redemption, and saying that you can come back still, and that you can make up for you can't undo the things that you've done, but you can prevent things that are like that from happening again.
Sure, you can. There's room for redemption.
Yeah, and so after Ray says the gods aren't done with you yet, Sandor calls back to Beric Dondarrion and says, I've heard that before. Man was talking about a different god though, because this guy, Ray here is thinking about the seven at first, the gods, aren't done with you yet. But obviously Beric at the time of the trial by combat with when they fought in the cave was talking about the Lord of Light. The Lord of Light's not done with you yet.
Oh yeah.
So
it's a different god.
Yeah, so I'm just like, wow, this is nuts. The Lord of Light certainly has him marked for something.
I think so.
Yeah, he's like some type of chosen champion for sure.
I think he's going to have a huge role to play in season 8.
Yeah, I hope so. He needs some type of strong redemption arc for sure.
Yeah, I love when Ray talks about the gods right after Sandor says that.
Yeah, epic monologue, right?
It was so great. He goes, I don't even know the gods' real names. It could be the 7, or maybe it's the old gods, or the Lord of Light, or maybe they're all the same fucking thing. And I loved that sentiment.
Yeah.
That it's like, I've always kind of felt that way. And I actually just saw a commercial the other day. Morgan Freeman is doing a new show. I think it's on Netflix, and it's called The Story of God. And he goes around the world and talks to different cultures about their experiences with God. And what he says in the commercial is, maybe we are all different, but maybe we're all the same. And I thought that was a very interesting thing because, there's like 2 main things that run kind of through every culture, even down to like the most primitive and indigenous cultures, and it's religion and music. And it's found in every culture on the planet is religion and music. And so it's kind of like, I loved that idea of we all celebrate, if you believe in God, of course, or, whatever God you celebrate, but we could all be kind of worshiping the same higher power, just worshiping in a different way.
And that's like the whole concept behind the many-faced God at the House of Black and White. That's how they interpret religion, is that everybody is just worshiping the God of death, basically, in their own way.
Yeah. So I really appreciated that sentiment because it's not one that you hear very often. I mean, I personally grew up Catholic. The rest of my family is kind of Christian-oriented background, and that's not a very common thought. And Christianity is God, and the other religions, they celebrate different gods. But it's like, I've always wondered, what if it's the same and we just celebrate it differently?
Right.
So I appreciated that line from Ray, very, very much so.
Nice. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And he tops it all off by saying, whatever it is, whether it's the Lord of Light or the 7, or whether they're all the same fucking thing, whatever it is, it's got plans for Sandor Clegane.
Yes.
I was just like, yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, really, what it is George R. Martin.
He's got
the
plans.
force that they're talking about.
He's the Lord of Light.
Technically, yeah.
Nice.
And that was just kind of a cool moment. The Hound stops eating and looks up at Ray, and they kind of make eye contact for a second there. And I was wondering at that point, did Sandor already know that Ray knows his real name, or was Sandor kind of surprised that he called him by his name, Sandor Clegane, at this moment?
I think he probably knew his name because Sandor goes, you didn't even know me back in my time. You don't know the things I've done. And Ray goes, I've heard stories.
Right.
So, I mean, clearly he's heard the tales of the Hound.
And even though he's heard those horrible tales potentially of things he did while he was working for Joffrey, he still thinks that he's redeemable.
Yeah.
And, that he has purpose, which is kind of affirming for him to hear that even somebody who's heard probably negative stuff still thinks that he's got worth and value. And that's when he says, well, if the gods are real, why haven't they punished me? And he doesn't realize that the things that he's been going through
are the punishment.
His crucible and his punishment. Yeah. Ray's like, they have.
And then Sandor, they're in such a really pretty spot, those rolling green hills with the trees, and it's just really a really pretty area that they're in. I'm curious where that was filmed.
Yeah, I wonder.
So yeah.
Oh man, yeah. So good to have the Hound back.
Definitely. I mean, that was my number 5. So do you have anything else you want to add or go on to yours?
So that's my number 1 as well. We'll wait and cover the rest of that later when we get to number 1s.
Cool.
Yeah. That way we'll have some more Hound talk later in the episode.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. So what is your number 5?
My number 5 is Marjorie is still in there. Not that it matters.
Yes. Okay. This is my number 3.
All right. So we start out with Marjorie in the Sept, and she is down in that little room, and she's all dressed up nicely with her crown on and everything like that. And she is ready to manipulate the High Sparrow, or at least try to, with a relevant verse, about being a wife, soothing her husband's wounds and everything like that.
Oh, yeah, and rocking her son to sleep.
Yeah, and the High Sparrow makes a jab at her by saying that there are some who know every verse of the sacred text, but don't have a drop of the Mother's mercy in their blood. Basically saying, like, yeah, I know it's an act, and you know the words, but you're faking your allegiance. I think.
You think so?
I think so. I don't think he's buying it.
I think Septa Unella is buying it.
Really?
I don't think I don't know. I don't think
she's watching her closely, silently.
That's true. I don't know.
I know, right? It's such a game. Like,
it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's like, I feel like I want to say no, but then I rewatch the episode in my mind, or the scene in my mind, and I'm like, it could go either way.
Yeah, those going either way moments. There's another one here. Remember when we were talking about how Marjorie was confessing to making sure she was seen when she was with the poor and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And I thought that there was like an element of her actually caring for the poor and wanting to help. And then you were talking about how there's also the element of that she actually was trying to be seen also to like improve her image and things like that. Mm-hmm. And for popularity purposes. So here she makes another similar confession, and she's like, for years and she kind of like it like catches in her throat when she says, pretended to love the poor, the afflicted. I had pity for them, but I never loved them. They disgusted me. And I wasn't sure, like, the hesitation when she says that she pretended to love them. I think she's exaggerating the truth again. Like, she's lying about this and it catches in her throat because it's not entirely true, or it's really hard for her to admit and it is the truth. And it's one of those things where, like, it could go either way. How do you interpret that?
Yeah, I think she genuinely reflected on that in her time in the cells.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a genuine aspect to it,
right.
But I think she's playing it up.
Right, because it's like, again, she's saying what she needs, what she thinks that the High Sparrow wants to hear.
Exactly, but I also do think that when you spend days and weeks alone with yourself, you have to come face to face with things that you don't want to think about yourself. Right. You know what I mean? So yeah, totally. I think as stubborn as she was and didn't want them to win, it's human nature to do that, to reflect when you're finally by yourself and let your, like, meditation almost. Yeah, definitely. Forced meditation. I'm just wondering what percentage of it is actually real self-actualization and what percentage of it is a show based on what she imagines the High Sparrow wants to hear. I think basically. It's like 60-40, like 40% she feels bad. Right. But 60% she's putting on the show. Yeah, that's funny. I can get behind that. Cool. So he's like, he says, the poor disgust us because they are us, shorn of our illusions. They show us what we'd look like without our fine clothes, how we'd smell without perfume. And I was like, damn, it's getting deep in this bitch. This may be like the truest thing he's ever said. Right? That our judgments of people aren't necessarily based on them, but based on how we would feel about ourselves if we, like, were in their positions or something like that. Definitely. And he brings up the fact that apparently Tommen is whining to him that Marjorie's not getting down with him. Yeah, that's so awkward. Yeah, and why is this High Sparrow so intent on
making sure Marjorie gets pregnant? What's the deal with that?
Maybe to solidify their place as king and queen a little bit deeper, because I think they're both very young, and with an heir on the way, it will kind of help solidify that. And he knows that he has Tommen under his thumb. Right.
So maybe he wants to solidify the dynasty to make sure that his influence extends far into the future.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's probably pretty accurate. So she admits, no, I haven't joined him in the marriage bed, basically. And he's like, you have a duty, Your Grace, to your husband, your king, your country, to the gods themselves. Like he's really playing this up, you know? And she has a great double meaning line right here. She's like, it's just the desires that once drove me no longer do. And she's implying that it's lust, which is, I think, something that she thinks the High Sparrow would want to hear, because it sounds like a very calculated line when she says it. She like thinks about it. Mm-hmm. So she's like implying that it's lust that she's no longer feeling, which this High Sparrow, you know, he talked about his debauchery that night, that drunken night, and obviously lust is something that they frown upon. But I think she really means, like, she just fucking hates Tommen at this point, basically. That's the way she's really feeling.
Yeah, so I love when she says this, though. She goes, forgive me, sometimes the true path is hard to find. And so she's, again, being very submissive here.
Yeah, totally. It's really funny. Like, I think she's just saying exactly what she thinks they want to hear, basically, trying to play the part as best she possibly can. And she's like really playing hard at this point. Like she's playing for keeps, you know? She's fully committed.
For sure.
It's pretty intense. And I like his response to hard to find and harder still to walk upon. It's even harder once you find it to actually live it. Yeah. Pretty intense. And at this point, he basically threatens Marjorie's grandmother. He's like, you've made great progress. I only pray your grandmother follows your lead. And Marjorie's like, what? What? Like, what? My grandmother?
What?
And the High Sparrow, remember, because Olenna went and visited him, right? So he knows a little bit about her. He
exchanged words with her.
Yeah, and he does not like her. She's a remarkable woman, a strong woman, but an unrepentant sinner. Which was hilarious.
Damn.
You must teach her the new way as she taught you the old, or I fear for her safety, body and soul.
My God.
Damn, so intense. Like he's straight up threatening her health here, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit. And I'm like, what does he want to imprison her next? This elderly woman, like drag her in there and throw her into a cell?
I think he wants to imprison as many highborn houses as he can.
Yeah, totally. It's so intense. So Marjorie is terrified for Olenna at this point, and
I know her eyes get super wide, but she plays it pretty cool.
Yeah, plays it pretty cool. And so it cuts to Olenna's chamber at the Red Keep, and it's her and Marjorie hanging out, and Unella is hovering real close.
She's creeping.
Yeah, and Olenna is like, what the fuck is she doing here? Does it move or talk? Hilarious. Yeah. And Marjorie is like heavy in the game here. Like seems like Stepford Wives type of like robotic brainwashed type thing.
She's so good.
Yeah. Septa Unella has been my true friend and counselor. And I'm like, Jesus. And Olenna is like, what the fucking fuck? What?
Brainwash.
Like, what is going on here? She's like, this is madness. Just like Mace said last episode, remember?
Madness has had its day.
Yeah, it's having another day now, apparently. And
it is all madness, really. Totally. This whole High Sparrow shit. That's basically a great way to sum it up.
Yeah. So they walk into another room, and Unella follows closely, and Olenna is so fucking mad. She's like, "You're not in your sanctuary now, Septa. All I have to do is whistle, and my men will stroll in here and bash you about." And I love the way that she like gets louder when she says bash, like really accentuates bash. And it's really funny. Marjorie's like trying to calm her down, And she's like, until I tell them to stop, if I tell them to stop, you could use a good bashing.
Marjorie's like, grandmother, whoa.
Grandmother, please. And they sit down and Olenna's like, what the hell? Like, what have they done to you? Like, you're acting like weird,
You are acting like a robot.
Marjorie's like explaining their motivation, the motivation of the sparrows. She's like, you marched against the High Sparrow, against the faith. And Olenna's trying to reason with her, like, we did all that for you.
Yeah.
And she's basically saying you're lucky that they didn't capture you after this and take you into custody. She says the gods could have punished you and father, but they didn't. They showed mercy, like Arya, mercy. And so she's basically saying you're lucky they didn't come for you.
i.e. hint, they're coming for you now.
Yeah, like you're in danger. Exactly. And so she's talking nonsense about Loras, like his only hope basically is to confess and repent, renounce his name and his title. And Olenna's like, what? Like, what? Have you lost your mind? She says, like, this is outrageous. He's he's the
future of House Tyrell.
Yeah, of our house. And she suggests living his life as a penitent. And it's like, no fucking
Olenna
way.
is not having any of this.
Yeah, it's insane. He can begin again, Olenna says, as a mindless fanatic, as a free man. She says, this is all terrifying to Olenna. It's like, yes. What have they done with Marjorie? And Olenna brings up a great point. She's like, you need to leave immediately. There's nothing saying you have to stay here. And Marjorie makes the decision here. This is like the moment of truth for Marjorie. She decides to stay. She says, I am the queen. It's my duty to serve my husband, the king.
Ugh.
And she's like,
I wanted her to leave so bad.
Yeah. I mean, this is cements her fate basically here. She's staying willingly, probably to try to save Loras. And she kneels in front of Olenna. And this is a big moment. When you kneel, it's like a symbol of pledging fealty, right? And she hands her the note with the rose, signifying like, I'm pledging my fealty to the rose. Like, I'm still on house.
And she looks at her like Tyrell. When she says you need to go home, like stop with this. And Olenna was smart enough to figure out, like, that look on her face was like, dude, like, you got, like, stop. You gotta go, like, get out of here.
Yeah, she's like, you need to leave. And her eyes get really wide because Olenna's like, I will never leave you. Never. Like, that's insane. What are you talking about? Why would I abandon you? I'm your grandmother. It's my sole duty to protect you. And Marjorie's like, you must. And like her eyes go super wide. And Olenna's like, oh, like something is going on.
I got it. Yeah. Her whole demeanor changes. She's like, we're on the same page now, girlfriend. I got you. Like, okay.
Yeah, her eyes are hidden from Unella. She knows that she can at least do something with her eyes at this moment. And she hands her the note at that moment when she says, you must.
And she's squeezing her grandma's hands too.
Like, you need to get out of here.
She's squeezing them. Like, she's holding onto her hands because that's how she passes the note. And you see her squeeze them.
Yeah. And this is the moment where Marjorie is stepping up and taking over for her family in King's Landing. And Olenna is essentially stepping aside and backing off to let Marjorie to work her game at this time. So if Marjorie had won, this would be like essentially her Sansa moment where she stands up and takes everything into her own hands. Like she goes willingly into the snake's den here, like Sansa steps up when she goes into Winterfell, basically to the Boltons.
Yeah, and definitely.
She is trying to play the game real hard and finagle a win for the Rose by getting Loras out of there somehow. She managed to get herself out safely at this point. Like, that's just in itself is a huge accomplishment.
Definitely.
It cost the realm Tommen, and the ramifications will be monstrous. But at least, like, she preserved herself for House Tyrell at this point.
Yeah, and I love, so Olenna gets it. So she stands up and she goes, "I'll see you soon, my dear."
I'll see you soon,
and
my dear.
they hug, and you can see the look of pain on Marjorie's face, like she wants to cry.
Yeah, huge
7 blessings
moment.
to you, grandmother.
And sad strings are playing. And is this the last time they ever see each other, right?
It is.
I think so.
Yes.
Olenna's leaving to go to High Garden, so this is a big moment. Marjorie looks super pained, and the sad strings are playing, and she's trying to keep her composure together. And Olenna walks out after they hug, and she takes a second to take a breath and compose herself, and then turns to Unella, and she's like, "Shall we pray?" Right?
Shall we pray?
So.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, Olenna goes out there, and the music is all intense, and she opens up that paper to see the rose drawing, and that message basically is, "I'm still in here, grandmother.
Yep.
I'm on the team Rose still. You have to trust me. You need to leave, and I'm going to handle this."
Yeah,
it's like a big moment.
I'm not crazy. I'm playing a role.
Right. If Marjorie had won in the end, this would have been a defining moment in her fight. And it tells us all that Marjorie is still in there and still fighting. And unfortunately, it doesn't make any difference in the end, because Cersei explodes the entire sept and kills everybody. so in the end, this is a red herring, and it's completely pointless. But it's
a great scene though.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. So much potential blown to bits by the Mad Queen.
Craziness.
Sucks.
Yeah. Nice. Good number 5.
Thanks. Anything else you want to add to all that?
Nope. I think that's it.
All right. What do you got for your number 4?
My number 4 is Arya getting stabbed by the waif.
Oh my God.
I had to do it. Because it's so this starts such a kind of crazy dramatic next couple episodes for Arya.
Yeah,
trying to get better, and then we get the Waif 1000.
Oh yeah, T1000 Waif.
Yeah,
Waif 1000. That's great. Oh man.
Oh yeah. So I love how she's walking through. I think she's in a marketplace, and she's walking with her hands behind her back. She's kind of sauntering along. And
I think it's Axel Erickson said that she reminded him of Tyrion, the way that he was walking like he owned the cobblestones.
Like a rich person?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Cool. So Arya overhears this conversation, and she walks beside the table, and she goes, "You're Westerosi." And he's like, "Yeah, what so?" She's like, "I want to go home." And she throws a bag of silver. Is it?
Yeah, a bag of some kind of coins. I'm assuming.
And he goes, "Where'd you steal this from?" And I love it. She goes, "Why do you care?"
Yeah,
and he
so
totally
funny.
chuckles at that. And she basically just tells him, he's like, "Yeah, you can come. You can stay in steerage." And she throws another bag on. She's like, "I want a cabin, and we leave tomorrow." And I loved her confidence in that moment.
Yeah, it's so stupid though, because she's tossing around bags of money, acting all wild, like she owns the street, acting like when she just fucking bailed on the House of Black and White, basically, and they're obviously coming for her.
Yeah, I have this in my notes too, because after she has this funny little banter between the man of the sailor,
yeah,
she's just wandering down the street, looking at the statue, there's nothing wrong.
Yep, just out in the open.
And I'm kind of we left you grabbing your sword and turning a light out, you're prepared to battle.
On the run, you were hiding out at the end of the
and now you're
episode.
walking down the street. So I was curious what you thought about that.
Yeah, I thought it was. Obviously, also this is one of the most problematic scenes of the show, the entire show, I would say. She's just acting drawing so much attention to herself, and the waif shows up, and that stab wound, with the twist, she stabs her 3 times in the gut, and the last one twists it so deep.
How did she even survive it?
Yeah, exactly. So that it's problematic, in terms of realisticness and believability.
I know, twisting a knife in the gut.
Yeah, plus Arya is so slick. It's hard to imagine that she would be drawing so much attention to herself, like I was saying, when she knows that she
or
needs
just
to be
standing
hiding
out in the open. I mean, I
right on the bridge or in plain view.
Yeah. It was a great shot, but it really is displaced in her storyline in Bravos.
Yeah, it's out of character, I would say.
Very much so.
As fun as it was and as likable as the Arya character was while she was doing all of this stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of why it's my number 4, because I liked it. I liked her confidence, but I also didn't understand how it played into her being on the run at this moment. I mean, I guess you could argue she's going to go home. She's going to go home tomorrow. She only has one more night. So maybe she's like getting a little confident that she's made it.
Yeah, maybe that makes sense. Cause she's leaving in the morning, you know?
Yeah. She only has one more night to get through, and she's made it this far. So she's going to take a moment to stop on the bridge and look at the statue and reflect on her journey here, because she's going home in the morning. I guess that's the only thing I can think of as why she would be standing there in the open, just reflecting.
Yeah, that makes sense.
On her journey.
All of the tossing of bags of money, though, is like, you know, it's just like, look over here and clink, 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 all, you know, like just like, I'm over here.
Yeah, it is strange.
It was really strange. But it was cool, though. Like, she tosses that second bag down and the guy's like, ooh, and then she walks around him, and when he looks to where she was, she grabs it back and she's like, we leave tomorrow in the morning. And instead of 2 days from now, like, she's changing the time frame, accelerating it to get out of there.
And she wants a cabin.
Right, yeah.
So I thought that was great. And so she's standing on the bridge now, looking at the Titan, and this old little woman starts shuffling along, and I knew instantly who it was.
The wave.
I was like, fuck.
What a cool looking old woman they got for that scene, though.
Sweet girl. And I was like, oh, fuck. And Arya turns around and fucking just stab, twists.
Oh, slashes her,
and I'm
too.
like, oh my God.
Yeah, the twisting of the blade. Oh, man.
And then she pulls her face off, and it's the waif. The plain Jane crazy fucking waif.
The plain Jane.
I hate her. I hate her.
It's funny, too, how they lulled us into feeling like relaxed and like we were like, there's like music playing that's like kind of upbeat with like a sense of wonder to it. And
we think Arya's going home.
Exactly.
I mean, she made it to Bravos. She's going to go back, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. Happiness and excitement as she's planning to leave, and her storyline is accelerating and exciting things are happening, and she's on her way home.
And now she's going back. Yeah.
And the music is all happy.
Like, maybe she'll go to Winterfell and see Sansa.
And then ring, ring, ring. Stabbing her.
Yes. That's awesome. Total psycho moment.
Yeah. So funny.
So she kicks her away and rolls off the bridge and lands in the water. And
oh, God.
It just plumes up with blood. And I was so frightened when I first watched this. I thought Arya was done for her.
Right. Because how could you survive that?
And I was shocked when she came back. I was blown away. So the waif kind of looks over and she straightens out her shirt and walks off like, yes, I made her suffer, because getting stabbed in the gut is a slow way to die, and it's extremely painful.
Jaqen said, do not let her suffer.
So she totally disobeyed Jaqen H'ghar.
Very suffery wound.
And I was thinking maybe that's why he wasn't upset when Arya killed her.
Oh, maybe.
Because she disobeyed an order too.
She defied the premise, which is that death is like, you know, you're not supposed to be torturing people. You're just supposed to be killing people.
Yep. So I thought maybe that was why it was kind of like this is your free pass to get out of here.
Yeah, maybe the waif did not give her the gift. She toyed with her with the gift. Like, maybe I'll give you the gift. Maybe I won't. You know, I'll put the gift right under your fingertips and see what happens.
So Arya comes up gasping for air, and she looks in really bad shape.
Yeah, what a cool spot she's in too.
Yeah, I wonder where this was filmed. Maybe Venice
or something.
I don't know. The stone
so cool
staircase with the down into the
Coming
water.
Into the water. Oh, it's amazing looking.
So I'm sorry, but she's walking through like what looks like a farmer's market. She's soaking wet and she's bleeding, and not one person offers to help her.
Yeah, it's that phenomenon where like dozens of people can watch something horrible happening to someone and nobody does anything. They're all just like watching.
I know. And it frustrates me so much. And she's looking, her eyes are darting because any of those people could be a faceless man.
Yeah. It's like Battlestar Galactica where you never know who's a Cylon.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So she's freaking out and everyone just stares back at her really blankly. And I thought it was super creepy and weird.
Yeah. And it's like a little girl's running around with like a big gut wound. And like nobody does anything.
She's like literally leaving like a blood trail.
Yeah. Freaking waif, man. She totally like, did it on purpose, like you were saying.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my number 4.
Nice. And yeah, she like kind of instinctively goes to Lady Crane, right?
Yes, she does. Because, well, that's kind of the only other person she knows.
Yeah.
That she's spent time with.
That she has a rapport with.
Yes.
Totally. So that was your number 4?
That's my number 4. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is an animal alone, cornered and wounded.
Okay.
And that would be Cersei. And basically...
and Olenna?
Yeah. Basically, the Cersei after this episode is basically the animal alone, cornered and wounded. Because what will an animal do that's alone and cornered and wounded?
Lash out.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah. So Cersei goes to see Olenna. And Olenna's at the table writing this time, as opposed to Tywin or her or Cersei. And Cersei's like, I heard you're leaving King's Landing.
She's all excited about this.
Yeah, Olenna's taking orders from Marjorie now. Interesting, because she understands that there must be some kind of grave threat. She's actually doing it. She's getting right out of there. And she's like, what the hell are you even doing here, right? Mm-hmm. And Cersei's like, you're just going to abandon Loras? Really? You're just going to leave? And she's like, Loras is captured because of you. The High Sparrow is in charge because of you. Our houses are both fucked because of you and your stupidity. And I'm like, ba-doom, bada motherfucking doom, bam.
Right.
And wow, Cersei admits it.
I know.
What's up with that? She's like, you're right. I made a terrible mistake. And I'm just like, oh my God, it's bad if Cersei is like to this point where she's admitting
it's that so bad.
It's like that is a desperate Cersei. All she wants to do is avoid taking responsibility for anything, basically. She's like, I made a terrible mistake and I carry it with me every day. And Olenna's like, good, fuck you.
You should.
You're the worst. God damn, you set us up for destruction. You created an army of lunatic fanatics and
you armed them.
Yeah. And Cersei's like, yeah, I did that. And now we need to fight them together. We need each other. And Olenna's like, like maybe a couple months ago, like I would have been down for that.
She's like, I'm out of here. Like, you could pick up the pieces.
Yeah, Olenna was never like geared up for war from the first place. Like she would have been happy to work with House Lannister more on a friendly base, right? There's no reason for this conflict at all. It's all because of Cersei and her fucking prophecy.
Her jealousy, yes.
Yeah, and her jealousy, right? So this is all unnecessary. Like Olenna, as thorny as she was, had essentially had an olive branch extended right from the start, and Cersei's been pushing it away. And now, after all
she
this,
needs them.
Yeah, Cersei's reaching out. She's trying to grab onto the olive branch, but Olenna has retracted it at this point, and Cersei is left all alone. And
too bad, so sad.
Yeah, exactly. And Olenna's like, another great monologue, number of great monologues in this episode. She's like, I wonder if you're the worst person I've ever met, And
I loved this.
Yeah, it's so funny when she's basically saying that when you get older, it's hard to remember all the the terrible people you've met throughout the days, but the really, really raunchy ones,
vile,
the truly vile, rancid, ratchet ones will stand out throughout the years, you know. And she's like, you remember that look you gave me when we were in the sept down there in the basement, and they took away Marjorie and Loris and put them into cells. You remember that? How you smirked at me? I'll never forget that, you bitch.
Oh, I loved it.
Like, we're fucking done, you know? Like, no way I'm working with you ever. And I'm like, Olenna is on fire here. She is roasting Cersei on an epic level.
I love her so much.
Yeah. So epic. And Cersei's just trying to, like, weasel her way in any way possible. She's like, the one, you know, my one redeeming trait is my love for my children. Maybe I can try to manipulate her with that. She's like, well, you love your granddaughter, right? I love my son. Like, it's the only truth I know. We must defend them. She's trying desperately to get
I'm
Olenna
leaving
to
this
stay.
wretched city as fast as I can.
Yeah.
Before
Yeah.
that shoeless zealot throws me into one of those cells.
Right. And if you've got half a brain,
You'd peace out too, woman.
yeah. And if you have the intellectual bandwidth of a gnat, you would get out of here as quickly as you can as well. And Cersei's like, never. I'll never do that. Like, ever.
And this is Olenna's next gangster moment of the series.
Yeah, totally. She continues accelerates her, like, amplifies the intensity of her already epic roasting of Cersei. And she's like, what the hell are you going to do?
Yeah, your brother's gone. Your family's abandoned you. The people fucking hate you. You're surrounded by enemies, thousands of them. Are you going to kill them all by yourself? You've lost. And I think this gets Cersei rolling on blowing up the Sept of Baelor.
Yeah, I mean, she's like, what, are you going to kill them all by yourself? And everybody who's seen the finale is like, yep.
She's like, yeah, I'm going to kill them all one at a time.
Yeah.
All at one time, not one at a time.
Yeah, all at one time. Yeah, it's so funny. It made me think of Milton from Office Space, you know, who everybody's shitting on him and won't, like, work with him or help him. And he's like, set the building on fire. You know? Yeah. I believe you have my stapler. Which is basically exactly what Cersei does. Everybody turns their backs on her and she
hits everybody with a stapler.
Yeah, she sets the whole building on fire. Burns that motherfucker to the ground.
Nice.
It also reminded me of Chappelle's show when they're, like, shooting dice and Leonard Washington is out there and Charlie Murphy rolls up with a gang to rob the dice game in the alley and steal all the cash. And Leonard Washington's like, you want this roll? Then you're going to have to shoot me. And Charlie Murphy's just like, okay, pop, and blasts him right in the leg and takes the money. And I felt like that's kind of similar thing here. Olenna's like, what are you going to kill them all by yourself? And she's like, yep.
Yeah.
And boom, blows up the whole sept.
Boom.
Classic.
Nice.
So Olenna continues on her roast with another final epic line here where previously she'd pointed out, like, who are you even to ally with? At this point, you've lost all of your power. You've been humiliated and degraded publicly and, like, shamed. Who are you even? And she's just summing it all up here, basically saying, you've lost, Cersei. And that's the only joy I can find in all this misery. It's like, that's the silver lining, is that you are tasting the shit end of the stick.
Yes,
for once.
you've lost, and I love it.
Even in all of my like the horrors that I'm experiencing and that my family is going through, that can still make me laugh a little bit. You know?
Yeah.
It's so funny. And considering her only joy out of all this is watching Cersei suffer to some extent, naturally, when all is lost for House Tyrell, she confesses her final, like, her greatest sin, the slaying of Joffrey, to just rub salt even further into the wound, to make Cersei suffer a little bit more, to realize it wasn't the imp. I've been wrong this whole time, and it was the Tyrells right under my nose. And and just that final jab. That
final middle finger right in your face.
Yeah, exactly. So great.
Nice.
So she just has to rub it in at the end even further. Yeah. So that's my number 4 is Marjorie is still in there, but
nice.
It doesn't really matter in the end because Cersei's going to kill them all herself.
And she does.
Yeah.
Cool.
So what's your number 3?
My number 3 was Marjorie and Olenna's conversation.
Oh, all right. Nice.
Yes. So what's your number 3?
My number 3 is slapped with a golden hand.
Okay. Awesome. Nice.
Oh, this is such a great moment.
River Run.
Yeah. It's got to be one of the most all-time classic moments in TV or cinema history, right? With Jaime slapping that Frey.
Oh yeah, for
so
sure.
Good.
Bitch slap.
Yeah. Imp slap. So the Lannister troops are arriving at River Run, and we get a view of the castle. And River Run is gorgeous. Wow.
It's so cool.
Yeah. Right in the middle of the river, and the river kind of flows right around it.
It reminds me of a traditional castle.
Yeah, definitely. It's so cool. Really cool castle with a nice drawbridge. It's right in the middle of a river too, which is like a natural moat with flowing water.
Mm-hmm. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. So they basically pull up and
something weird is going on.
yeah. From a distance they're watching, and Bronn is observing that, woof, this siege is very poorly organized. Like, what the hell's going on here? And do you know what siege warfare is?
Yeah, it's where you set up trebuchets and you try to knock the walls down by throwing big boulders and shit into it.
Yeah, it's basically if somebody's barricaded in, it's like a prolonged process of starving them out and weakening their defenses, basically. Bronn's like, oh, that's that siege is terribly organized. Somebody needs to teach those sad twats how to dig trenches. And in my mind, I'm like, sounds like somebody just volunteered. And Jaime's like, someone certainly does. And looks over at Bronn.
And Bronn's like, fuck.
And I'm like, you're in my world now, Grandma. Looked like someone just pulled landscaping duty. Remember that, Happy Gilmore?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, it's been years since I've seen Happy Gilmore.
Okay, listen up, everybody. Turn up your volumes. Announcement. I got good news. We're extending arts and crafts time by 4 hours today.
My fingers hurt.
What's that?
My fingers hurt.
Oh, well, now your back's gonna hurt because you just pulled landscaping duty. Anybody else's fingers hurt? I didn't think so.
And that's basically Bronn in this scene. He's like,
that's so funny.
He just totally pulled landscaping duty. He's got to teach these guys how to dig trenches and do the landscaping for the siege.
You could trouble me for a warm glass of shut the hell up. You're in my world now, Grandma.
That's right, Grandma.
God, Grams.
So Bronn's all mad about it. He's like, come on, dude, what the fuck? And Jaime's like, listen, you have better instincts than any officer in the Lannister army. And Bronn, you can always count on Bronn for a good funny line, right?
Oh, yeah, I love this.
Yeah, it's that's like saying I have a bigger cock than anyone in the Unsullied army. Come on, man. Lannister army is full of twats. And Jaime divulges. He's like, I expect you to command all the Lannister forces before long. You can be the right hand I lost. And I was like, damn, he thinks he's bestowing an honor on Bronn by doing this,
Yeah.
And Bronn's like, fuck, man. All I want's my castle and my
hot
soft wife. Yeah. Right. And I'm like, will somebody get this man a castle?
Seriously, if Bronn doesn't get his castle, I'm going to be so pissed.
Yeah, totally. And Jaime's like, listen, you're going to get, all three. You're going to be the commander. You're going to get your castle and your wife. A Lannister always...
Don't say it. Don't fucking say it.
Yeah. And I just feel so bad for Bronn. He's so pissed off there, too. It's hilarious. I love how he cuts him off. Classic moment.
Bronn is like, don't fucking say it.
Yeah, you got to feel bad for Bronn too, because he just keeps getting led on further and further down this whole rabbit hole, and given more and more responsibility when all he wants is his, less and less responsibility, basically.
His lady.
Fewer commitments. Yeah, he just wants more stone and boobs, basically. Can somebody give this man a castle?
And a hot woman.
So, cuts to the next scene again, and it's Edmure, who we saw briefly at the end of last episode, if you remember.
When I first watched this show, I was like, who is this guy? I totally forgot about this character.
From you don't remember this one character we saw 1 or 2 times from 5 years ago?
I know. I'm so terrible.
So many faces and so many names, and it's ridiculous. And then they bring somebody back all of a sudden after so long without seeing them. I'm sure that a lot of people were really confused.
I was like, I don't remember who this is.
It's the floppy fish. None of that.
I didn't even really remember who the Blackfish was.
We get the Blackfish and the floppy fish together in one episode.
Yeah. Wow.
Fish-tastic. So these Freys are trying to threaten the Blackfish and trying to get him to give up the castle. And they're holding Edmure hostage up there at the gallows with a rope around his neck. And telling the Blackfish to come out and fight. Yeah. Yields the castle or we'll hang him. And the Blackfish is like, meh, whatever, basically. And so they try to make it a little more personal. He pulls the noose off his neck and pulls out a blade, puts it up to Edmure's neck. And he's like, I sliced your niece's throat from ear to ear. And where were you? Running and hiding like a fucking coward. Yield the castle or I cut his throat. And the Blackfish is just like does not give a shit.
Go on. Cut his throat.
And it's funny, the volume at which the actor says that, it's so low. They could never hear him down below.
I know.
It's pretty funny. But it's hardcore.
He just walks off.
Yeah, it's like, what is your level of commitment to your cause? If somebody threatens your family, are you going to toe the party line? Or are you going to hold your convictions close?
I just think he totally knew that they weren't going to kill Lord Edmure, even though they were threatening to, because First and foremost, he's standing with a noose around his neck, and they're threatening, and then they take it off, and then they put a knife to his throat. So
make up your mind.
The Blackfish is like, you're not doing anything. Go ahead, cut his throat. I'm not buying this bluff, essentially.
But then again, these are the people that lured in your whole family and slaughtered everybody.
I think they need Lord Edmure for leverage, though.
Right.
Or what they think is leverage.
Maybe, yeah. So he falls short on the threat, long story short, basically. And he's like, I can't do it, me. And Edmure lives to fight another day.
And the look of relief on his face is so funny. He gulps. He's like,
oh, survived again.
Yes, he does.
And so the Blackfish walks away, and Jaime rides up, and because he and Bronn are kind of watching from a distance as this whole spectacle of idiocy is playing out. And they ride up, and Lothar is all surprised. Lothar, one of the Freys, there's Lothar and there's Blackwalder, I think. Yeah, is it Blackwalder? Yeah. And Lothar is caught off guard by Sir Jaime arriving. He's like, Sir Jaime, we didn't know
what are you doing here?
Yeah, so dumb. So dumb. And Jaime's like, yeah, you didn't realize that we were coming because you didn't set up a proper perimeter, you idiot. You just allowed 8,000 people to approach you unchallenged and walk right up to your command base. And I'm like,
that's
damn.
Insane.
Yeah, holy shit. That is
Talk
a
about
major
a verbal
fail.
slap in the face.
Yeah. And Bronn, to rub it in, good thing we're friends, we'd be fucking you in the ass right now.
Always with the great one-liners.
Yeah, another good one right there. And Jaime immediately takes over the situation, and he's like, have Lord Edmure bathed and fed, as he starts issuing commands. And Blackwalder is not super stoked about this, having somebody else show up and just relieve them of their command, essentially. And so he's like, whoa, hold on here. And Lothar tries to get him to chill, basically, and he's not having any of it. And he basically steps up to Jaime and he's like, Edmure is a prisoner of House Frey. And I'm like, oh, you're trying to contradict Jaime? That's not going to end well for you, buddy.
Nope.
And this is the part where he just saw how he didn't live up to his own threat to kill Edmure, basically, and pansied out. And so Jaime remarks about it here. Only a fool makes threats he's not prepared to carry out. Now, let's say I threatened to hit you unless you shut your mouth, but you keep talking. What do you think I'd do? And it's like Black Walder. It's like goes right over Black Walder's head. Like he doesn't even perceive the threat. He's like, I don't give a rat's ass what you do. And like just smack, that golden hand comes flying up and just backhands him right across the face. And it's just such a badass moment. Like that's such a gangster thing to say and then do. Black Walder just totally set himself up for it. It's just so funny. I don't know. Just such a clever way to go about handling that situation, and
definitely
really clever thing to say. Just thought it was very good writing. And I think Nikolai Coster-Waldau playing Jaime here knocked it out of the park. He came off as being very authoritative and just very dominant in this situation.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, really good scene. So he slaps him and Black Walder staggers back and Lothar kind of catches him hilariously. And Jaime's like, I'm here by the king's command to take back this castle. Have him bathed and fed, unless you'd like to take his place. Which is just a pretty cool line, like, or you could be next.
Yeah, we're in command. Clearly, we're in command here. Like, step down, Black Walder.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in the books he, like, sends him home, literally. Like, sends him back. And,
nice.
Like, go home to your mother, boy. And Lothar apologizes. Just hilarious. Apologies, said Jaime.
Please don't hurt me.
And I'm like, oh, the smart brother is apologizing. So Jaime's like, the siege is now under my command. Next time Blackfish looks out, he'll see an army and not this garbage, basically. What the hell have you guys been doing?
Whatever this is, whatever's going on here.
And Bronn takes his cue there and starts issuing commands to dig proper trenches around the perimeter and everything like that. Things that they should have already done. Building siege towers and trebuchets and everything. And Black Walder is still like not getting the picture here.
Those are ours.
Yeah, Jaime has to, not smack him, but verbally smack him down into place again and basically threaten him with sending him home. And he tells Bronn to get word to the Blackfish that he wants a parley. And Bronn, of course, is still mad at Jaime, so he has to take a shot at him here by by saying a parley or a fight. And Jaime's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, fight him? He's an old man. Bronn's like, yeah, but you've got one hand. My money's on the old guy. Pretty classic moment. A series of burns. Bronn's always got something excellent to say.
Yes, he does.
What a character, man. What a great opportunity for that actor.
It's a great parallel to Dario and Jorah.
Bronn and Jaime?
Bronn and Dario. Like, they're kind of one-liners about...
Oh, yeah.
Dario kind of pokes at Jorah the way Bronn pokes at Jaime.
That's right. That's pretty funny. Yeah, good parallel.
And isn't there a theory that they could be brothers?
Yeah, there is that theory that Bronn and Dario are brothers, yes.
Yeah. So, there you go.
It's a fun theory. It'd be cool to see them together.
I like it. I like that theory.
Yeah, me too. So that's ends that scene with a nice zing from Bronn.
Yes, it does.
And my number 3 ends as well with that. So how about your number 2?
My number 2 is Jon Snow pleading with the wildlings.
Nice.
Yeah, I think this is an incredible scene, especially for Jon, because he's been talking about the wildlings fighting for him, but he hasn't actually asked them yet.
Right, yeah, Sansa's been pushing for it.
Yeah, this whole plan is in motion before like they get the bulk of who they're kind of relying on.
Yeah.
So we meet Dim Dalba, which I think he's the redhead guy.
Ah, yeah, I think so. Yeah, the main guy talking.
Mm-hmm. And
what a name.
Dim Dalba. So, he does make a good point. He's like, these aren't White Walkers. This was not the deal, because he's being very literal with it. And Tormund just has some great lines here, and it's so true. What Tormund says over and over again in this scene is, we would not be here if it wasn't for Jon Snow.
Yeah.
Like, we owe him something. You know what I mean? And
totally.
Basically, Dindalba's like, we can't lose any more people. We're losing hundreds of people. We're basically on the brink of extinction. We don't want to go fighting some stupid foreign war.
Yeah, this could turn us into the last of the wildlings.
Yeah, we could be the last.
The last of the free folk, he says. Oh, that's so intense. Like the idea of losing a whole people like that.
It just on extinction levels. And Jon goes, well, you're going to die if we lose, because you're not safe with the Boltons holding the North.
Right. That's exactly what will happen.
The Boltons do not want you here. The northern houses do not want you here. So if I die, if our army dies, you're fucked anyways. So we're basically in like a pickle here. We have the Night King up in the north. You're going to be the first to die. If he comes down here, when he comes down here.
Yeah, when.
And you have the Boltons in the south, and they're not going to let you pass.
Right.
They're going to kill you.
It's like, I need you with me if we're going to beat them. And we need to beat them if you're going to survive. It's like, it reminds me of Fat Bastard.
Yeah.
I eat because I'm unhappy. And I'm unhappy because I
eat.
Yeah.
And then here comes Tormund with like the legit, like talk, the way like the free folk talk. They're just super to the point. They don't beat around the bush at all.
Yeah, he's awesome.
The crows killed him because he spoke for the free folk when no other Southerners would. He died for us.
He died for us.
If we're not willing to do the same, we're cowards.
Yeah.
And if that's what we are, we deserve to be the last of the free folk.
Cue the last of the giants.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. And they all kind of look around at each other. And here's one.
Yeah.
Your buddy.
Last of the free folk. And here stands the last of the giants all of a sudden.
Snow.
Yeah, it's so epic. And Sansa is new to seeing giants as well, and she's staring in awe.
Yeah, her face is like, what?
And I just thought it was interesting how they're talking about the last, like how if they fight, it could make them the last of the free folk. And one stands like, I'm willing to fight, even though I am the last of my people, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Last known, at least, that we know of. And he does die tragically at the Battle of the Bastards in a couple episodes.
He does.
So I was just
sad.
like, damn, so good, man.
And everyone starts nodding at Jon. And I always get goosebumps here.
Yeah, one just snow and walks away and like drops the mic. That's like the solidifier. If one backs Jon, that means everybody backs Jon.
Everybody's backing Jon, for sure.
The wildlings, at least.
Jon goes to Tormund, are you sure they're going to come? And Tormund's like, we're not clever like you Southerners.
Yeah.
When we say we'll do something, we'll do it. And I loved it.
Great line. I like the use of the word clever. Pretty funny.
Yeah, so that's my number 2. It's short, but it's important because he actually finally has his army.
Yeah, 2,000 people. And he gets a look of satisfaction on his face there at the end when Tormund's like, we do what we say we'll do.
Yes.
Really epic. I just thought it was interesting, too, how upfront Tormund was about how Jon had been killed.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, if they say some shit like that, it calls their credibility into question, But the wildlings believe him.
They know. Well, they knew because they were all kind of at Castle Black when they were resurrected. Yeah, Dolorous Ed came down and said they killed him. Like, said they had gotten word that he was dead, and now all of a sudden he's here. Like, goddamn. Yeah. So it's tangible for them.
Yeah.
And, obviously we know Sansa knows now, and she doesn't bat an eye at it. So she's clearly at peace with the fact that her brother is resurrected.
Yeah. It's so nuts.
Yeah. It's a great scene. And we get a giant. Come on.
Yeah.
Has to be in my top 5.
Totally.
So what's your number 2?
My number 2 is, I'm guessing it's also your number 1.
Okay, is it Lady Lyanna Mormont?
Yeah.
Yes, I had to make her my number one. She's so badass.
Nice. I have the Hound as my number one, so just
okay.
So yeah.
I figured you would, so that's why I chose this as my number one.
Nice. So let's collab a little bit with Lady Lyanna.
Go for it.
So
talk about a pretty castle, Bear Island.
Wow, right?
Hello.
Dude,
I like you.
I'd have never really noticed it before. It just kind of breezes past me a lot of the times when they go through the
gorgeous
scenery.
Waterfall. Oh my God, I would live in Bear Island.
Yeah, what a castle too. Well, you say you'd like Bear Island until you live there, and it's like 10 feet of snow for most of the time.
Years.
Dude, Bear Island is super, super far north. It's like
it's the farthest north you can go, I think.
Yeah, it's basically at the level of the wall, the northernness of the wall, out on the west over there.
Yeah, because it's out. It is an island. So I want to be on Bear Island when the Night King comes.
Right, because they can't go across water or some shit.
Yep.
Good call. Lady Lyanna will end up ruling all the survivors.
Oh my God. Maybe she's the princess who was promised.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, right? So the castle is really cool. And we cuts to inside the hall of Mormont Keep, to their audience chamber, basically. And we get a view looking out towards the supplicants, who in this case are Jon Snow, Davos, and Lady Sansa.
And Lady Sansa looks stunning.
Yeah, totally. And all we see at the head of the chamber in this first view is the shoulder of a man. And so we're all expecting it to be like some lord of the castle, basically. I mean, at least the casuals would be expecting it. People who don't already know about Lady Lyanna from her letter that Stannis got, right? People who don't remember that.
Yeah, because that was a very small moment in time.
Yeah, exactly. Very small
most
moment.
viewers would have probably glossed over.
Yep. So they kind of set us up here for being surprised when the camera cuts in front and we see that next to this guy is the lady of the castle, who is really running stuff here.
She looks so tiny between the two of them.
Yeah, she's so cute too. And it's Lady Lyanna Mormont. Lovely little Lady Lyanna Mormont. Quadruple LM. So she's doing her thing in there. And her demeanor and the way that she plays this character sort of reminds me of like a young Princess Amidala from Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. We were watching Star Wars earlier.
Nice. Yeah, she kind of reminds me of Amidala. So Lyanna welcomes them cordially. And Sansa is so diplomatic. She brings up how she remembers when Lady Lyanna was born and how she was named for her aunt, who is said to have been a great beauty, and she's sure that Lyanna will be a great beauty as well. And Lyanna just slaps that shit down. She's like, I doubt it. My mother wasn't a great beauty or any other kind of beauty. But she was a badass warrior. She died fighting for your brother, Robb. You know, and it's like smacking down what Sansa was saying, but also saying like, I'm mad at you because your family's already cost my family a lot. So
yeah,
you know,
yeah, like I'm kind of not really happy you're here.
So Sansa fails, and Jon steps in. I served under your uncle at Castle Black. He was also a great warrior and an honorable man. I was his steward. In fact,
I think we've had enough small talk.
Yeah, nope. Shut down.
Why are you here?
Yeah. And I'm like, damn, this actress playing little Lady Lyanna Mormont here is incredible. She is exuding such an air of power and dominance over this chamber.
What a fun role to play.
Yeah, being such a little girl and having such a strong character to play. Mm-hmm. So cool. Really, really impressed by the power that she's able to exhibit here.
Definitely.
And so Jon Snow he's like, yeah, I've actually heard of you before. I was with Stannis when he got your letter that you wrote. It said, and she remembers immediately, like instant recall of what this letter to Stannis says.
Yes.
And she has no reason to like necessarily think that he would be bringing up something she wrote to Stannis, right? So the fact that she can recall the exact verbiage of this letter instantaneously on the spot like this says to me that A, she's sharp as a tack, but B, she wrote this letter.
Yes.
So she's the one calling the shots here. It's not like she's just writing what somebody tells her and then forgetting about it the next hour, next instant.
Mm-hmm. she is in charge.
Yeah, she's the boss. And
boss, babe.
Damn, it's so cool. So she's like, yeah, I remember exactly what it said. Bear Island knows no king, but the king in the north, whose name is Stark. And we're like, oh, man.
Damn.
And Jon's like, well, Robb is gone, but House Stark is not. And now it needs your support more than ever. We've come to ask House Mormont's allegiance. And Lady Lyanna is not super stoked about this. She confers with her maester very briefly. It's funny how they're like just whispering, quietly.
Right in front of them. It's like, that's awkward.
It's so funny. And Lady Lyanna, she's so cute when she like leans over to speak with him, getting counsel from the wise maester. And I think what she's asking about is Sansa's last name, because the first thing she says is that, well, as I understand it, you're a Snow, so you're not technically a Stark. And Lady Sansa, she's a Bolton, right? So she's not technically a Stark either.
Or are you a Lannister?
Right. Or she may be a Lannister. I've heard conflicting reports. Like, damn, she is so sharp. Like, she gets right down to the meat and bones of what is going on here.
She's wasting zero time.
Yeah. So Sansa gets kind of defensive at this. Like, she's slightly offended. She's like, I did what I had to do to survive. A little bit of attitude comes out. But I am a Stark. I will always be a Stark, my lady. And Lyanna, I was very impressed with her response here. She's also very diplomatic. She takes Sansa at her word. She has no reason to doubt Sansa's character or her integrity or honesty, right? So she's like, if you say so, and I thought that was a very wise beyond her years type response to that.
Very much so.
So she says, in any case, again, showing how wise she is, you don't just want my allegiance, you want my men, my fighting men. And Jon's like, listen, Ramsay is running Winterfell and he's got Rickon, and what you need to understand. And I'm like, oh God, you don't tell what little Lady Lyanna what to do.
No.
You don't tell her how to think. And she's like, she cuts him off right on cue. I understand that I'm responsible for Bear Island and all those who live here. So why should I sacrifice one more Mormont life for someone else's war? Boom. And Jon is speechless. Like he looks over to Sansa for some backup, and she's speechless too. It's just Lady Lyanna Mormont has solid logic that stumps the Starks. And it's just a classic Jon knows nothing moment also, because he's talking with Lady Lyanna and she asks him a question. She's like, why should I give up any more Mormont
He doesn't
wives?
even reply. He's like,
Yeah, and Jon literally knows nothing, just crickets chirping. He looks to someone else for the answer. He calls a friend, what's that?
I'd like to phone a friend.
Phone's a friend, yeah, there you go. So yeah, classic Jon knows nothing moment. And Davos steps up here as Jon and Sansa are just silent. And Davos, has a history of being great with little girls and having just excellent rapport.
I have this in my notes too, that I think it may have reminded him of Shireen.
Yeah, totally.
Because Shireen was very bright,
very sharp, very strong.
Yeah, very intelligent mind, curious mind.
Totally. So immediately he's like, oh, I like this girl. Very mindful of Shireen. She has character. So it's awesome. And that Davos is there because he's the perfect guy for the situation. He's like the little lady whisperer, basically, So he steps up. If it please, my lady, I understand how you feel. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be money. And she's like, who is? I don't know you, sir. And he tells her his name, Davos, my lady of House Seaworth. And she turns to confer with her maester again, but Davos interjects that there's no point, basically, because his house is rather new and your maester's not going to know anything. There's no history to report. I'm the first. And it was a neat approach because it's like taking himself down a peg.
Yeah.
So it's whereas Jon and Sansa are kind of like trying to puff themselves up, like, oh, like I did this and
we're
know this person. Yeah. He's like, oh, like I'm on your level, like I'm just some guy.
Yeah.
And I think she kind of responds to that approach a little bit. And she likes it. She's like, all right, Sir Davos of House Seaworth, how is it you understand how I feel? Because that's what he said. I understand how you feel. Right?
Yeah,
so
and I love his logic here. So good.
Yeah, very poignant question. Very great response.
Yeah, he said, you never thought you'd find yourself in this position, being responsible for so many lives at such a young age.
Yeah, and he relates.
He's like, I didn't think I would be here talking to you. I was a crabber's son. I was a smuggler, for God's sakes. Like, and now I'm sitting here addressing a fine lady of an old house.
Yeah, great house. He's laying on the flattery a little too.
Yeah, of a great house. Yeah, and it's just incredible. I love that. He goes, I'm here because this isn't someone else's war. It's our war.
And she's receptive to his message. And I have written down 2 titans meet in the field. Like these are just such like 2 of such epic characters with such sound logic and reasoning. And it's just great to see 2 honed minds clash or dance.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, Davos approaches kind of like submissively to her.
Yeah.
And I think it gives her a sense of curiosity of why he's backing Jon Snow.
Right.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
Why are you in the north? And
yeah, like
his last name is Seaworth. So like, I would think that Davos is probably somewhere by the sea because his last name's Seaworth. Right, and now he's like up in the north. So Davos continues, your uncle made Jon his steward. He chose Jon because he knew that Jon understood that the real war isn't between the Westerosi houses. It's between the living and the dead. Yeah, and the dead are coming.
And that Jon had the courage to do what's right. That's the other important part.
Oh, yes.
He's like on target with where the attention needs to be, the focus on the real war, and the fact that he's like a moral person who will stand up for justice and doing what's right.
What's right. Yeah,
no matter the cost, even if it costs him his life, as it has already.
So she looks back over at Jon. Now she's addressing Jon.
Yeah.
And she's like, is this true? And Jon nods. And he's like, your uncle fought him at the Fist of the First Men. I fought him at Hardhome, and we both lost.
Mm-hmm. And just really briefly, during that little monologue that Davos has, he says, Jorah Mormont chose Jon to be his successor because he knew he had the courage to do what was right, even if it meant giving his life. And right at that moment, the camera cuts to Jon, to a close-up of his face, and shows how he's reacting to hearing other people praise him like this. And I just thought it's significant showing his response, because we get more of this as people begin to talk more and more about him. And it just shows how humble he is and how he recognizes.
It almost makes him uncomfortable in a way.
Right. Yeah. It's like he recognizes the truth, but it makes him uncomfortable at the same time. I think he does a great job with these performances of reactions under these types of circumstances.
His body language is really incredible.
And he kind of closes his eyes and and the other funny thing too is that they're talking about all this great stuff about Jon. Davos is like being Jon's hype man, but notice one thing that they do not mention about Jon and Jorah's relationship is that Jeor passed down the Mormont ancestral Valyrian steel sword to Jon.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of awkward, right? Oh yeah, sorry, Lady Lyanna.
Is he wearing his sword?
Maybe. I mean, it's got a new hilt and stuff, so they might not they wouldn't recognize it.
That's
after
true.
It was damaged in the fire and everything.
Oh, that's true. He changed it to a wolf. That's right.
But imagine Jon's like, your uncle, he made Jon his steward. He was grooming him to lead because he knew he would do the right thing, even if it meant giving his life. He gave Jon the Mormont ancestral sword, Longclaw. And Lyanna is just so magnetic. She just lifts up her hand, and the sword just gravitates right off of Jon back to her.
Yeah. And it's like Mjolnir. It's like Thor's hammer.
Because she's just so magnetic, and it's metal. I just thought that was kind of funny. They strategically didn't mention Longclaw because Lyanna might be like, yeah, we want that back, actually.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty hilarious.
Especially if she wants to fight.
Yeah, definitely.
So Jon mentions that they both lost when fighting the army of the dead.
Yeah.
And Davos, placates a little bit more to Lady Lyanna. He basically says a divided North is not going to stand a chance against this army of the dead. It's a lost cause. He goes on, you want to protect your people, but you can't hide from this. We have to fight, and we all have to do it together.
Yeah, we need all of us to win.
So I love this. The maester leans in to whisper in her ear, and she throws up her hand.
Yeah.
She's like, nope, I've made my decision.
And this shows also, this reinforces no one coerces or controls little Lady Lyanna Mormont.
No one.
No one. She's like the Chuck Norris of Westeros.
I love her. I love her so much.
I was thinking, is she in the top 5 most likable characters of this show?
I think so.
Yeah, probably.
I think she could be.
Yeah.
She's a bright light in this show for sure.
Oh
And
my God.
I hope we get more of her in season 8 because I really do enjoy this actress. She's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think we will. We have to. Yeah, she's coming back for sure.
So she looks over at Jon and Sansa. She goes, House Mormont has kept faith with the Starks for 1,000 years.
Oh man, so
we
long.
will not break faith today.
Epic.
Oh, and I loved it.
Yes.
So I'm thinking, yes, this is the army that they've been waiting for. It's the Mormonts. They're great warriors.
Yeah.
They can do it with the wildlings and the Mormonts. They got this.
Jon is stoked too.
John's like, thank you. How many men can we expect? And she goes, 62.
Yeah.
And John's like, 62. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, there's a moment where it's the same camera angle that it showed when she asked him, why should I give one more Mormont life? And it panned back and he looks all confused and kind of looked at Sansa. It goes to that same angle of where it's the confused reaction angle. And his eyes kind of flicker around a little bit and he's like, 62?
Did I hear that right? Was it 662? 6,062?
Yeah.
She goes, we're not a large house, but we're a proud one. And every man from Bear Island fights with the strength of 10 mainlanders. I love how she calls them mainlanders.
Mainlanders, yeah, so cool.
And Davos just cuts in because I think Jon was going to maybe poke a little bit more. And Davos saw it in Lady Lyanna's face. If they're half as ferocious as their lady, the Boltons are doomed. Oh,
totally.
So great. And Lyanna's like, I see you, Davos. I see you.
And her claim about every man from Bear Island fighting with the strength of 10 mainlanders. If Jorah Mormont is any sign of the quality of fighters from Bear Island, then that's pretty true.
That is true.
Jorah can take on a whole crew of people himself for sure. So,
and we know Jorah Mormont was an incredible fighter and ranger.
Yeah. And in the books, the Mormont women are known as being particularly, excellent warriors.
Yeah, because her mom was down fighting with Robb.
Yeah, Daisy Mormont as well. Another Mormont who was at the Red Wedding.
Yeah, so that's your number 2, and that's my number 1.
Yes.
Do you have anything else you want to add before we go on to your number 1?
I think that pretty much covers it. Lady Lyanna Mormont is just a joy.
She truly is.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Nice.
What a great character.
So we're going back to the Hound.
Yes. My number 1 is Sandor returns.
Yay.
There's a couple things that I want to add throughout the Sandor things. One cool thing is before we get the reveal of his face and we see him carrying the log, one detail I noticed that stuck out to me as a hint, giving away that it was him.
He's limping.
Yes, his limp. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I love the way that he was revealed. The music is swelling and rising and the camera starts out low and rises up along his body and backs up, zooms out a little bit, and he's standing there facing away from the camera. And it's so epic. He turns towards the camera and we see it's the Hound. And it's just a really well done little thing. The excellent music, the reveal is just great. Flows right into the title sequence like you mentioned.
I love it. Da, 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 da.
Man, that song's cool.
It is.
There's one funny part too when Ray walks up to Sandor and he says to him, I think some of the men are a bit afraid of you.
He's like, I'm used to it.
Yeah, I'm used to it. As if Ray thought Sandor was uncomfortable with the fact that people are afraid of him. But really, Ray is remarking about how the other people are all uncomfortable. It's hilarious, just the way that Sandor kind of reverses that. And another interesting thing that I noticed was when Sandor's like, you didn't know me in my time. Like, you don't know the horrible things I've done. And Ray is telling him that he has been punished and that he has atoned, essentially. I thought it was interesting that there's like sort of a parallel going on between Sandor and Cersei and Marjorie and Loras as they're being held captive and forced to atone for their sins via the seven gods and the shame walk and all of these mechanisms that are available through the faith of the seven. Sandor is going through his own sort of crucible and atonement and paying for his past sins in a similar way.
Certainly. I love it.
Different, but similar. So I thought that was kind of a cool parallel. So the next scene we get with the Hound is with Ray, and all of the faith followers here are sort of gathered into a group, and Ray is preaching, and he's telling the story of his life and how he's changed, and how it's a story of redemption, basically, and how you can, even horrible people can still find the right path.
The light of the seven.
Yeah, I thought it was a very poignant story, and I thought Ray he's kind of a wordsmith. He's really good with these type of monologues and stuff like that.
He's a great actor.
Yeah, that too. So he's talking about how he was a soldier and everybody thought that he was brave, but he really wasn't. And he was just scared to death that other people would realize how scared he was. So instead of running from fights, he was even more scared of being like called out as a coward, basically. So he's just picking what scared him most. It was just kind of a funny concept. And so he was talking about how he would just follow orders, whether he was burning a village or stealing crops or killing people, and how he just did horrible things, and how he remembers this one woman as he's basically about to murder her son. She's screaming at him, calling him animals. And I thought there was a really poignant line where he says, but we weren't animals. Animals are true to their nature, and we had betrayed ours. And I was like, wow, that's a really interesting way of thinking about that. Most people think that it's in human nature, essentially, to do horrible stuff. But he's saying that, no, it's like in human nature to be good and to be wholesome and friendly. And they were turning their back on what they should have been doing as humans, as what they know they should have been doing. So that was kind of cool. And he was saying that he slit that boy's throat himself.
Ugh.
And listening to his mother scream as his friends held her back so she couldn't fight it. And in a parallel to the High Sparrow, we're getting a story of Ray finding his own sort of rock bottom, the way that the High Sparrow did with that drunken orgy.
I have that in my notes too, that this story kind of resembles the cobbler story.
Right. Like he has this sort of moment where he realizes that he's on the wrong path, and Ray felt such a huge shame. The shame was so heavy that he couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. And the camera cuts over to Sandor, and he's having a rough time like listening to this. Like it's obviously eliciting huge.
It's resonating with him, for sure. Yeah,
it's resonating big time. And he, like, you can tell he just feels such shame and pain at the things that he's done in his life. Then like it's so much so that it's boiling over, and you can see the anguish on his face. And this is where I have written that his torment is his atonement, and that his redemption is his repentance.
I love it. Very, very good.
Thanks. Yeah. So he's such an interesting character to me, the Hound. Just like, he's really bad, but he's also got such good, like, deep inside of him, sort of like an anti-hero, very gray character.
Certainly. There's so many great characters in this show.
Yeah, definitely. So Ray goes on about how he was tormented by the memory of the mother's screams, and that all he could do was stare into the dark sky that night instead of sleeping. And just hearing the scream over and over in his head. And he pauses and has a really intense moment where
his eyebrows like release, like it's like the clarity comes on his face.
Right,
like,
yeah, it's amazing.
I'm going to hear her the rest of my life.
I'll hear her screaming the rest of my life.
It was like an epiphany that he was having in just that moment.
Yeah, it was so intense. And I'm thinking, wow, what a great role just for the single episode. Really, really great role for this guy. Amazingly powerful speech. And that, like I was saying before, this is the exact type of influence that Sandor needs to hear. And
definitely,
this is when the bleakness of his speech sort of turns around and into the hopeful side of it and the affirmations. And he says that even though he was like such a shit and such a horrible person, like he's like, I know I can never bring that boy back whose throat that he slit. But he recognizes that with the time that he's got left, he can still bring goodness to this world, even if it's just a little. You know, he can do his part to make the world a better place. He can make
a difference in somebody else's life.
Yeah, he can, you know, instead of introducing sadness, he can do the opposite to wherever he can, and he can try. And it's never too late to stop robbing people and to stop killing people and to start helping people.
And he stares right at
Sandor
the hound
and says, it's never too late to come back. And this reminded me of The Walking Dead, was like, I don't know, season 4 or 5, like one of the main themes is how we get to come back. You know, you can go down dark rabbit holes in your life where things are horrible and you go to dark places. You can go a little crazy even, you know, but you can always come back. And this is a message that we receive in Game of Thrones quite often as well, with characters like Reek, for instance, with Theon, who goes to a real dark place, a real dark, dickless place. But in this very episode, he's coming back. You know, the same message. It's never too late to come back. Yara's got him in that bar and she's like, listen, like, are you with me? Are you ready to be Theon? Like, if you're not going to be Theon, just cut your wrists and just end it. Be done with it. But if you want to be Theon, I need you. Like, are you ready? And he's like, it's like, this is Theon's big moment. He's back. It's not too late. He was able to come back. He can do it. Even though he did all this horrible stuff, killing Roderick, Cassell, and
the farm boys
and sabotaging Winterfell and
betraying Robb.
Yeah, betraying Robb. He can still use the time that he has left to try to have a positive impact on the world and to bring a little goodness into the world, to quote Ray. So I like that, how that theme is kind of woven throughout the story in various places.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is a really emotional moment as Sandor is having these realizations about the nature of life and the potential for the power that he does wield. Like, you know, what is it? Spider-Man's uncle says, with great power comes great responsibility. Mm-hmm. Sandor's got a lot of power and he hasn't necessarily wielded it in the most responsible ways. So
definitely,
he's realizing now that he still has the opportunity to do that and to use his power for good. And it's just really intense emotionally to see him come around this way and to feel these types of feelings and to watch him go through this self-actualization where he's sort of centering himself, kind of like the way Marjorie is coming to grips with her sins, admitting to feeling disgusted by the small people and not actually loving them. Sandor is facing his own sins and finding his center and starting fresh, like Marjorie said Loras could do.
Yes.
Lots of parallels all throughout these characters here.
Very much so.
So Sandor is taken by all of this as he's seeing these opportunities and everything's coming into focus in reality for him. But he's distracted as 3 horsemen ride up the way. And those spidey senses, like I mentioned to Spider-Man a minute ago, Sandor's spidey senses start tingling and a look of concern dominates his face as he just gets a bad vibe off of these guys.
Mm-hmm, definitely. They're creepy.
Yup. And so they ride up and Ray greets them. 7 save you, friends. And like Sandor says, not necessarily the best move because these are followers of the Lord of Light. So you basically just showed your cards that you're not on the same team, essentially.
Yeah.
And Lem is sort of interrogating him. What are you doing here? Well, we're talking about life. You? Protecting the people. And I'm like, oh God, right away, this is so sketchy. These questions I'm not liking. These answers I'm not liking, you know?
Yeah, it's very awkward. It's starting to get a little tense.
Yeah, he's like, well, do you have any horses? And Ray's like, nope, no horses, no gold, no steel. I'm like, you know, do you have any horses is a sketchy question. Saying you're protecting the people is kind of sketchy. Like you pay for protection kind of thing. It made me think of. And then Lem's like, food then. Protecting the people is hungry work. And I'm like, oh yeah, mad sketchy.
It's like, well, you can stay for dinner, but we're not giving you stuff.
Right. We have hungry mouths here too. So Lem kind of like rejects, like just blows this off. And he's just like, stay safe. The night is dark and full of terrors. And they sort of ominously ride away.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yep. And I'm like, fuck. So we get the Lord of Light reference here with the night is dark and full of terrors. And we know that they're Brotherhood without banners. But why are they acting all crazy like this? The Brotherhood without banners were like good guys last time we saw them, right?
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I guess there's bad seeds in every, you know.
Yeah. Isn't it Thoros that says like they went rogue or something like that?
Yeah, there was a group that went rogue, I believe.
We get to learn that next episode because when Sandor arrives to kill Lem, they're already about to be hung by Thoros and
oh yeah,
and everything, right? So
I forgot about that.
Pretty interesting. So they ride off and it's kind of ominous. And then it cuts to later on, Sandor is splitting wood again, doing a lot of that this episode, like you said.
It's cathartic.
Yeah, it definitely helps a lot. He needs to get that violence out somehow. And if he can't smash people, he's going to smash wood.
It's like when my 2-year-old wants to get violent and get frustrated and hit things. We let him like hit pillows on the couch and he goes crazy with it.
Right, totally.
And then it's out of his system and then he's like snuggling with me 2 seconds later.
That's great.
Yeah.
So Sandor is jabbing at Ray. He's like, 7 save you, friends. Like, what the fuck was that?
That was the stupidest thing you could have said.
He's like, I'm a fucking septon. What am I supposed to say? And he mentions that, like, dude, they don't believe in the 7. They're from the Brotherhood. They worship the Red God. The Red God. We've talked about that before, how Jockin says it, and same God.
Yeah.
So that stuck out, Red God. And then Ray's like, well, it doesn't matter anyway. It's not like we have anything for him. And Sandor's like, you fucking idiot. Yes, you do. We have food. We've got steel, even if you say you don't. Like, obviously you do. You've got women. And Ray's like, yeah. But like...
What do you want me to do? Fight them?
Yeah. Fight them, kill them. And paralleling Cersei here, remember with Olenna saying, what are you going to do? Kill them all?
Yep.
Ray's like, yeah. What do you want to do? Fight them, kill them? It would be you against all of them. And I'm like, yeah, it will be. Start of next episode, Sandor is going on a killing spree against all those fuckers.
He's like, well, you can fight too.
Yeah, and Sandor tells him, he's like, well, you know how to fight. Why don't you help? And he's like, I'm done with it. I'm like, so annoying.
Even if it meant your life was in danger.
Right, and he says violence is a disease. You don't cure a disease by spreading it to more people. And Sandor says, you don't cure it by dying either. And it kind of reminded me of that phrase where people say, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. And I'm like, no. There's one guy left at the end with one eye, and he rules over all the blind men. You just want to be that one guy with that one eye.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's a jape, but the sentiment stands. Like, you don't cure violence by not being violent either. One way to stop violence is to be violent against the aggressors and to stop the aggression. And sometimes stopping the aggression involves violence.
Yes. Well, and we get Cersei in the next episode saying that she chooses violence.
Right. And from and if you're being violent against somebody and waiving somebody else's rights, you waive your own rights in the process and therefore are subject to the consequences, whatever they may be.
Yep. Couldn't agree more.
So if somebody wants to step up and protect that person whose rights are being violated, that may mean that you get,
punched in the back of the face.
Yeah, we can say that. Right in the back of the face. So Sandor is like, and just goes back to chopping. wood. And Ray tries to get him to come eat dinner, but Sandor seems to really care about these people. He's like, well, it's going to be a cold night. We're going to need wood for the whole night, so I'll stay chopping for a while. And Ray's like, oh, that's cool. I'll save you a bowl of stew. Thanks, buddy. Might even have some ale hidden away. And the Hound's like,
and that's when you know that's the kiss of death.
Yeah.
Ale hidden away. Yeah, okay.
Mention something good, something bad's about to happen.
Yep.
So then next time we come back to the Hound is at the end of the episode. He's chopping down stuff with a machete. And he stops to take a drink and hears people screaming. And he's like, fuck. And he sort of goes into guard dog mode and runs toward the source of the screams. But by the time he's there,
everybody's dead.
Everybody's dead. And it made me think of sort of the way, like I mentioned earlier, after Jon's initial death, he sort of gets missed by every arrow at Battle of the Bastards, etc. Mm-hmm. Sandor is placed out of reach by the grace of the gods here, it seems. And he was not there during this ambush. So
thank the gods.
Yes, thank the gods. And so sadly, all those nice people that he was with, who he cared so much about, he cared enough about them to be preparing firewood to keep them all warm and taken care of. They're all dead, sadly, and so is
Ray.
Poor Ray, the pacifist.
And he looks so creepy hanging there.
Yeah, hanging there in the middle of the church. There's something creepy in general about dead people in churches.
Yeah.
But him hanging there, yeah, he looks super creepy.
He's kind of like smiling, like.
Yeah, and Sandor's just like, fuck, I told you you're not safe and you should have been ready to fight. And it's just a lesson about being prepared. You got to have steel and you got to have skills that you can employ to keep yourself safe.
I need skills.
Yeah, rock climbing skills.
Nunchuck skills, bow hunting skills, computer hacking skills. Girls only want boyfriends who have great skills.
Etc. So you can see the change sweep over Sandor's face as it's sort of like that Godfather moment.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Sandor's like, God damn it, I'm trying to be peaceful and nonviolent, and I'm trying to find the path of righteousness.
And I have to do the right thing. I have to get vengeance.
Yeah, but I need to kill a lot of people because of this. And he's getting drawn back to violence because that's what he does. That's what he's good at. And luckily for him, he's going to find a path where violence and righteousness will go hand in hand, basically, as he fights against the army of the dead in season 8. So he's a born fighter. There's an extra piece of Valyrian steel floating around the north right now. And I think that if anybody is deserving and worthy of wielding a nice Valyrian steel blade during the onslaught, it's the Hound with Heartsbane.
So Heartsbane, we see Heartsbane last episode, and then cue this episode, we get the Hound. Yeah,
there you go. Great connection, yeah.
So,
and they both start with H.
that might just be, we haven't seen the Hound in a long time, so that could be just a nice little foreshadow.
That timing is suspect.
Yeah, for sure.
It's pretty interesting timing. I will admit, I hadn't even considered that. Back to back.
Yeah. Yep, back to back.
Pretty epic.
And maybe they didn't do it in the same episode because that might have been too obvious.
Maybe.
So they split it up.
They are in quite close proximity, though. That's pretty interesting.
And they made Sandor's return extremely important by doing it as a cold open. We don't get very many cold opens in this show.
Yeah.
So they placed a lot of emphasis on Sandor Clegane.
He's important. He's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. So he looks super pissed there at the end. You see it like wash over his face as he just goes into madness has had its day in King's Landing, but he's about to unleash some madness across the Riverlands, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
And we'll see that next time, but he goes over and grabs that axe.
He's going to be axing bodies instead of logs.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's going to be so fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Remember, that's how it starts off next episode, right? It's just him like walking up on a dude and cutting his head right off.
Yeah, I think he walks up and he's like, they're mine to kill. At least give me one of them.
Yeah, I remember he guts that guy like right through the nuts. He like
yeah.
And he's like, you want to get any last words? And he's like, fuck, you can do better than that. Cunt. That's just pathetic.
You're shit at dying.
Yeah, you're shit at dying. Yes. There you go. Yeah, that's the best.
Yeah.
So,
love it.
man, we got the Hound back. That wraps up my number 1. Just so good to see the Hound. I remember that the first episode I was ever on of Game of Microphones was the Hound. This episode a few years ago.
That's right.
It's great to see how things have progressed since then.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Happy Game of Microphone anniversary.
Thanks. So yeah, that wraps up my number 1. We've covered your number 1 as well.
Yep.
And what do you have for notes? What do you want to start off with for notes?
I'm back at River Run when the Kingslayer and the Blackfish meet for the first time.
Nice.
Yeah, so I love this. Jaime's galloping up on this, of course, white horse.
Gorgeous.
He's just beautiful. And I love Jaime's armor with the burgundy and the gold lions on his shoulders.
Yeah, really nice armor.
It's great. And so we get some really cool camera angles here when he's walking down the bridge. And we get it back from like where the horses are standing. We get an aerial shot of it, and he walks right up to the edge.
Beautiful.
And looks up, and he has all these bows and arrows pointed down at him.
Yep. They're like, oh, he's got a golden hand. It's the Kingslayer. Open the gate.
Open the gate. So the gate slowly draws down, and he's standing right there, and out pops the Blackfish.
And speaking of his armor, this is the first scene where I noticed this armor. I just thought it was interesting because Lannisters have been wearing it for seasons. Like, there's been tons of guys running around with this armor on, but I never noticed the details of it until Jaime was wearing it. And I was like, wow, this armor's really cool.
Yeah, his is exceptional.
Yeah.
And I think we also notice it more too because we're always used to seeing Jaime in Kingsguard armor.
Right, so we're like examining the new outfit.
It's like, oh my God, Jaime's wearing something different for once. So it's noticeable versus the Lannisters. It's just a dime a dozen kind of in the background type thing.
Yeah, totally.
So Blackfish, he goes, Kingslayer?
Yep, every line is a zinger right off the bat. Kingslayer.
Blackfish.
Yeah.
I don't see Sansa and Arya. Why are you here? Do you want to go back into prison?
Have you forgotten your vow to Catelyn to bring them home safely? Yeah, have you come out to resume your captivity? Oh my God, that line. Hilarious.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
I love it. And Jaime's like, dude, you know why I'm here? You took this castle back. It belongs to House Frey. You're trespassing. You need to leave.
Yeah.
And the Blackfish is like, or you'll kill Edmure.
Zing again.
My nephew's marked for death. Just hang him and be done with it. I don't really fucking care about Edmure Tully.
Yeah, he's such a floppy fish anyway.
He is. So Jaime is trying to threaten him, and Blackfish is like, you know what? If you can breach these walls, you can go ahead and try. We're here. We're not going anywhere. We have provisions for 2 years.
You got 2 years?
Do you have 2 years? You can start us out? And Jaime's like, why are you fighting a war that's over? And the Blackfish is like, as long as I'm standing, the war is not over. This is my home.
I was born in this castle.
Ah, yes.
And I'm ready to die in it.
I love it. So Jaime's like, well, why did you even treat with me? Like, why did you even come out here? He goes, I'm really fucking bored.
Sieges are dull.
I wanted to see you in person and get the measure of you. And Jaime's like, well, yeah, now you have. And Blackfish is like, yeah, now I have. I'm disappointed. And I loved it. No one wants to have people disappointed in them.
And Jaime just looks like crushed.
He's like, fuck.
I think also this is a person who Jaime has sort of idolized as well. Remember how Davos had said that the Blackfish is like a legendary figure. It would be great to have him on the side of the Starks and Winterfell.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Jaime has a deep admiration for the Blackfish as well, from his various feats throughout the years. So, yeah, Jaime met the Blackfish when he was a squire, and the Blackfish had enthralled him with his tales of the Ninepenny Kings. I'm pretty sure it's a Jaime point of view chapter in the books where this happens, and we get to see that Jaime is like kind of hurt by having an idol have such a low respect level for him.
Yeah, definitely. So, do you have anything else you want to add here?
Just that Jaime is sick of his reputation that he has as a kingslayer, man without honor. And much like the Hound, I'm looking forward to hopefully repentance through redemption.
Watch their redemption arcs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm looking forward to some redemption.
Me too. So are you up at Deepwood Mott now?
Yes, with Lord Glover.
He's intense.
Yeah, he's not stoked about any of this.
Yeah.
He's like, right off the bat, the answer is no. Right?
We just got back. We just got this castle back.
Yeah, right. The Ironborn had taken it.
Yeah, so Jon's like, well, the Boltons are traitors. And I guess his name is Robert.
It's a Robert.
Robert Glover. What other houses have pledged to fight for you? And Jon's like, oh, fuck. House Mormont? 62 men?
62, baby.
The bulk of my army is wildlings, okay? Fuck, god damn it.
Yeah, and I'm realizing, there could be like political issues with northern houses from having wildlings on the squad, basically. They're also programmed to hate the wildlings. Like, this is an issue. I had neglected to realize the significance of the political intricacies of this situation.
Yeah, and we definitely get this with Robert.
Yeah, I think either way probably works.
How did you say it?
I've heard it both ways. I've heard it Robert and Robert. Yeah, Robert.
Okay.
It's like Robert, kind of just without the R, second R.
And Jon's like, but we've sent ravens to other houses. He's like, I don't care about the damn ravens. Can't believe you have wildlings fighting. This is not happening, essentially.
Yeah, and it's so brutal. He's he says like the rumors are true. Then I didn't dare believe them, but something that probably hit home for Jon. He's like, I received you out of respect for your father, and Jon's like, like.
Yeah, damn it.
That's rough.
And now I want you to go home.
Yep.
Get out of here. It's not going to happen. And Sansa, I would remind you that House Glover is pledged to House Stark.
Sansa is a G.
Oh, boom. And Jon's like, thank God. I think he felt awkward saying something like that because he's a Snow.
Interesting.
And not a Stark.
I thought he was like surprised that Sansa was that forward about it.
Maybe that too, but I think he was hoping that she would say something.
Well, she definitely did.
Yeah, absolutely. And he goes, girl,
he's so pissed.
We cried when your dad died.
Oh,
we
so
lost
intense.
a shit ton of men to fight for Robb while he was fucking some foreign whore.
Right. And he says we even called him King in the North. First time in like centuries that somebody's gone by that title. And he looked at Jon when he said it too. I thought it was kind of like a little bit of a foreshadow there.
And then he looks right at Sansa. He goes, I served House Stark once, but House Stark is dead.
Damn.
Oh, fuck. And everyone's just like, fuck.
Yeah, Jon looks like ruined.
Yeah.
Burn.
It's horrid. It's so bad.
So rough.
Yeah. That's all I have for House Glover.
Yeah, same here.
Boobs.
Yeah. Yep. Next we have somebody other than Jon Snow who's moping.
Yeah. Poor Theon. There's tits flopping everywhere.
I know.
And he's just can't, like, everywhere he looks, there's boobs.
He's so tormented by being dickless.
Poor dickless Theon.
Yeah. So we're like, what are they doing in Volantis, right? And before that, with that scene with Arya where she pays that Westerosi ship captain to take her back to Westeros,
Yeah.
to Westeros. The conversation that he was having that she starts to listen into when she realizes that he's Westerosi, he's talking about how all these boats in Volantis have arrived of the Ironborn.
Oh,
So-
I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, they're mentioning how the Ironborn are in Volantis, and he's like, I'm staying the hell away from those nutcases.
Because they're on their way to the Dragon Queen.
Yes.
So they have to go through Volantis.
Yep.
So they're stopping off at the whorehouse, and
Totally.
we see that Yara is
Into chicks.
into chicks and guys, I guess, too.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, do we ever really see her with a guy? We only see her with a girl.
Well, she didn't seem too disappointed when Theon was feeling her up.
No, but she knew who her brother. She knew it was her brother.
Right, true.
So she was like fucking with him.
Yeah.
I can't imagine she liked that in any way.
Yeah. Hope so, hopefully.
Hopefully. And she does kind of make an advance on Dany when she finally meets Dany.
Oh,
She's
totally
like, and I
does.
assume that your, proposal doesn't include a marriage. And she's like, well, I'm kind of up for anything. Like, hey, girl.
Right. Yeah. She's like outwardly
And doesn't Dany in the books have some like
lesbian stuff.
lesbian moments
It's not
with
necessarily
her?
that she's interested in women, but there is
No, but she
yeah,
her
there is
handmaiden gets her off.
yeah, totally. I think it's like Jiqui or Erie or one of them.
Yeah, they're on are they on a boat?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I remember that vaguely.
I read the passage on one of the Still Smug episodes. It's Dany's handmaiden Erie. They're traveling to Marine on a boat, and Dany is restless. She can't sleep. She's imagining a guy next to her in her tiny little bunk on the ship instead of her handmaiden. And she basically starts touching herself. And at some point, the dragons sort of stir, and that wakes up Erie, who catches Dany, and she's all embarrassed. But instinctively, Erie just basically goes to help her out and get the job done, at which point Dany screams. Or was it Drogon? Another little hint of a possible mental connection between the two.
Yeah, so
'Cause she's
Yara is
lonely without Drogo.
she's really digging into Theon. She's making fun of him, and
She's trying to get him to drink.
yeah, and she's like, fuck, you're just such a bitch.
She's like, I don't want to drink.
Talk about a dark, rainy cloud over my parade.
Yeah, and she realizes that it's time for an intervention here, basically.
And they're such a rough people. They're so Viking-like. Like their like pep talks are super intense. Like, if you don't think you can be here, just fucking kill yourself, because I am done with this like beat dog version of you. Like, can you get there? And if you can't, like, just be done with it and move on.
You don't have a dick, but you're in a whorehouse. Use your fingers, motherfucker. Wake up.
Yeah. So she keeps asking him to drink, and she's like, I'm never going to hurt you. And he's freaking out because he knows that Euron is still out there.
Right.
She's like,
Yeah,
of course
all
he's
scared.
hunting us. We're always going to be a threat to him.
It's just funny, though, how she sends away the whore to have the intervention.
Yes.
She's like,
yes.
all right, stay close, but I need to handle some business, babe. I'll be right back with you.
Yeah. And she like bites her boobie.
Oh, man, I missed that.
She kind of like, kisses and like nibbles at it. And she's like, it's a great big world and we have fast ships. Drink. Theon's chugging.
He takes like the tiniest little sip.
Yeah. And
She's like, no, really drink. Like,
you're Ironborn. Like, you've had some bad years. And Theon's like, bad years? I was fucking tortured and my dick got chopped off.
some bad years.
Like, if that constitutes as bad years, then okay.
Right.
She's like, I need you, the real Theon, not this rat shit pretender. Can you find him for me? Drink.
Classic.
So she just continues to kind of just like try to pep him up, basically.
Yeah,
and
it's interesting. It's like her tactic is really peer pressury and super substance abusey and emotionally traumatizing. But she's trying in her own way to bring Theon back, to make him like real again, to give him strength and everything. So
yeah, and they have a goal. They're gonna, if you're gonna kill yourself, kill yourself. But if not, I need you, Theon. We're going to go to Marine. We're going to make a pact with this dragon queen, and we're going to take back the Iron Islands.
Yeah, she's like, you escaped. You know, you got away. Like, you have the chance to be Theon again. We're going to do all this big stuff. Just snap into it, man.
He agrees. He's like, okay, I'm with you. And she goes, well, since it's my last night ashore for a long while, I'm going to go fuck the tits off this one.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. She also, there's another interesting line too, where she's pep talking him and she's like, we'll get justice for you. And he's like, if I got justice, my burnt body would hang over the gates of Winterfell. He's like self-actualization, like the Hound, like, why haven't I been punished? Like, that's what Theon thinks he needs, is more punishment. But he's been punished, he has a dick cut off, etc.
Dick in a box.
Yara's like, fuck justice then, we'll get revenge. Drink, and she keeps making him drink more and more.
Yeah. Nice. That's kind of all I had for the Ironborn.
Cool. Yeah, there's just one thing to add. Basically, there's the moment she's like, are you with me? Are you really with me? And he like raises his head up and locks eyes with Yara and nods. And it's like in that moment, you can see that Theon is back. He's like really back. It's Theon sitting there.
Yeah.
Locked eyes with his sister, and he nods and you can see the resolve on his face. And it's just like a huge moment for Theon.
Nice.
This is the moment where he's really back.
Yeah, it's good. It's nice to see him back.
And Yara's as bad as any guy on this show in terms of debauchery and and like exploitation of women and stuff.
Totally.
Hilariously.
Nice.
So next we're at the Stark encampment.
Yes.
Which is where Stannis had been camped, apparently, on his way to Winterfell.
And we hear this, from Davos's perspective. He suggested it because he was the most experienced commander in Westeros, and he chose it for a reason.
Yeah.
That the mountains were a barrier. They had water. And they both agree, we need to march on Winterfell as soon as we can because the snows are what also defeated Stannis, not just the Boltons.
Yep.
So he's like, well, fuck, we have 2,000 wildlings, 200 hornwoods,
143 Masons,
and 62 Mormonts. Don't forget the 62 Mormonts. It's not really what they had hoped for, but if we're careful and we're smart, we may have,
a chance.
A chance. And Sansa seems a little bit irritated that...
Yeah, Davos runs off to break off a fight, and Sansa is talking with Jon.
Yeah, and so she's like, so he's your most trusted advisor because he secured 62 men from a 10-year-old?
And
I think she's kind of mad because I think she thought that Jon was going to use her knowledge of Ramsay, of his, why aren't you asking me these questions? I was fucking married to the guy.
Oh, right. He's your trusted advisor, not me. Like, I have some information you might like.
I was married to him.
Yeah, good point.
Like, and I'm your sister.
Yeah. She goes through a whole series of criticisms of various things, and I'm like, damn, on paper, all of what she's saying makes really good sense.
It's totally true.
Like, Davos was Stannis's man for years, but Stannis, who lost to Blackwater, who murdered his own brother, who doesn't have a head.
Yeah, who fucking died and burned his own daughter.
I'm like, zing, and she just nails like all
she's like,
this.
dude, we need more men. We have like not even half the men that Ramsay does. Like, I don't know what you're doing.
And this is eerily paralleling Stannis' situation where they were running out of time. They were having men abandon them, and Stannis refused counsel and pressed forward. And just like Stannis did, Jon's like, there's no time. We fight with the army we have.
And Davos is dealing with this stupid fight. And
it's pretty funny.
And while he's dealing with that, Sansa kind of spies the maester of Bear Island. We get a very small glimpse of Lady Lyanna. She's there.
I'm like,
she's
damn,
there with them.
Rode with them. She
rode
gangster,
with them,
dude.
And Sansa sees the ravens, and so it cuts to the next scene, and she's in the tent, and she's writing a letter, and she signs it Sansa Stark and uses the Stark wax press.
Oh, good
and
catch.
I believe it's the letter to Littlefinger
asking for help,
basically
right?
saying, I need your help.
Yeah, totally.
Yep.
I think so too.
So yeah.
Nice.
That's all the notes that I have.
Yeah, same here. That wraps it up for this episode. Great episode. Lots of good stuff happening. Hints of hope and redemption. And
lots of emotions.
Yeah, lots of powerful emotional bits. Lots of big moves by characters. Yeah, just a really, really great episode all around. Except for Arya being stabbed, which is just totally unrealistic.
Yeah.
But we get a return of a great character, the Hound, after a couple years without him, or like a year and a half.
Definitely.
And yeah, solid episode. Good, another season 6 episode. All right,
nice.
We'll be right back. Stick with us, guys.
Let's get it there.
And we're back with Game of Thrones and history. From townandcountrymag.com, the real people that inspired Game of Thrones. These historical figures were likely George R.R. Martin's muses. By Nancy Billio. William the Conqueror. If someone put a Valyrian steel blade to my throat and told me to pick a real-life monarch who inspired Martin, it would have to be William the Conqueror. There's a little of the 11th century conqueror and a lot of different Game of Thrones characters. William took England's throne from King Harold brutally after the invasion of 1066. Warmongering and bastards are a go-to staple for Germ, and in real life it was William, illegitimate son of Duke Robert of Normandy, who set the pace for I'll show daddy in the medieval world. In his novels, Martin writes a lot about conquerors who, quote, crossed the sea, unquote, to take a throne, and William did just that. Others tried it after him, such as Henry VII, returning from foreign exile with an army in 1485, and it worked. And Bond Princess Charlie, who left France to take the English throne in 1745. It didn't work.
Next, we have Attila the Hun. Coming second in the similarity stakes is the 5th century's ultimate warlord, who roared out of the Mongolian grasslands on horseback to conquer the known world. Sound like a certain Khal Drogo we all love and miss? Attila was even betrothed to a very much non-Hun royal, Honoria. She married Attila to get away from the brother she hated, Roman Emperor Valentinian III. More echoes of the Dothraki soap opera? Attila died on his wedding day to a gorgeous young woman, poisoned, some say.
Ooh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Next, Anne and George Boleyn. There are echoes of Anne Boleyn and her brother George in those lovable rascals Cersei and Jaime Lannister. Anne was famously the second wife of Henry VIII, but when the marriage soured, the beautiful queen grew closer than ever to her brilliant, handsome, loyal brother. One of the charges against Anne Boleyn in her 1536 treason trial was incest with George, a charge the siblings denied and one most historians doubt was true. Henry just wanted to pile on the charges to get rid of her and put wife number 3 beside him. When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die, remember?
Have you watched The Tudors?
Oh yeah, we've talked a bit about it before. Great show.
Yeah. I love it.
Excellent
Maybe
show.
I'll watch it again. I love it.
It's so good.
Next, we have Cleopatra.
Yeah.
It comes up more in the books than in the TV series, but the Targaryen royals practice incest in their ancient dynasty to keep the bloodline pure. Yuck. That's what the ancient Egyptians did too. Cleopatra was the daughter of Ptolemy the 12th and Cleopatra the 5th, who was either his sister or his niece. When Ptolemy died, Cleopatra became co-ruler along with her younger brother and future husband, Ptolemy the 13th. But she wasn't having it, and her sibling died, drowned in the Nile after brother and sister went to war with each other.
Sounds like the Dance of Dragons, except with the reverse outcome.
Cleopatra went on to rule gloriously and violently. We really hope Daenerys doesn't end up cuddling with an asp.
Because that's how Cleopatra died. An asp is a snake, and she clutched it to her breast, and it bit her.
And it bit her?
Yeah. It's debated, really. Cleopatra's physician, Olympos, did not explain the cause of her death.
Plutarch tells the asp tale, but says that the poison was scratched into her skin with like an implement, like a cheese grater or something. Dio says she injected it with a needle. Strabo claims it was an ointment of some kind. No snake was found with her body, but apparently she did have a couple little puncture wounds on her arm, technically. So that is very interesting. What happened?
Yeah. Cool.
What's that sound? What? Sir Matthew of House Repp. The world of Game of Thrones is filled with cripples, bastards, and broken things.
Ain't that the truth?
Oh, yeah. The Broken Man episode reintroduces us to none other than Sandor Clegane, trying to put his violent past behind him. Theon is a broken man, finally coming back around to some of his former composure with help from Yara. Jaime is a physically broken man since losing his fighting hand, but that doesn't stop him from being a boss at Riverrun.
Nice. I love these.
Yeah.
I didn't even pick up on this theme.
So true. Me, same here. And Edmure is definitely broken after 2 years in prison.
He looks like hell.
But he wasn't all there to begin with. I love how the costume department outfitted all the Tully fighters in scale mail to accentuate their fishiness. Yeah, that's a great touch too.
Yeah, and the Blackfish's armor is super detailed. It's so cool looking.
Yeah, those leather scales. Looks sick.
I love it. So is it metal or leather?
I think they're leather scales.
I do too. It was hard to tell though on the Blackfish. I felt like the Tully army was in leather, but I felt like maybe the Blackfish's was in metal.
The Kingsguard armor does have metal scale, so there is a precedent for metal scale on the show.
Okay.
And in the books, the metal scales of the Kingsguard armor is enameled white.
Ooh.
So they have like white scales all over their armor. It's pretty cool.
Looks like he has chainmail sleeves. It's hard to tell. I think it might be leather.
Yeah, I think so.
Lord Axel of House Erickson. Love the defiance of the Blackfish, aka the Siege of Riverrun.
Yes.
The Blackfish is, like Duncan would say, a true G.
A true
For
G.
sure. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The Stark cause is basically hopeless at this point, but he remains loyal.
Well, at least loyal to the Tully cause. Because he refuses to send troops up with Sansa, right?
That's correct.
Interesting.
Before I did a thing that demanded a bit of bravery from me last year, I actually went back to read this chapter to gain inspiration from Brandon Tully's bravery.
Oh.
That's when art is best, in my opinion, and it helped.
Interesting.
Dude, that's so awesome.
That's cool. So you had to do something that required a bit of bravery, and you went and read this chapter to gain strength from Brendan Tully.
Yes.
That's so cool.
so badass.
Nice.
Congratulations, dude.
Yeah,
that's
glad
awesome.
it helped. That's killer. Good call.
Thanks for writing in.
Yeah, always good to hear from you, brother. Lady Alicia of House Stout. I remember watching this episode for the first time and seeing the cold open. I didn't know it was the Hound until he was seen walking by himself carrying the tree. Then it was like this light bulb went off and I was super excited.
Yes, me too,
Yeah.
Lady Alicia.
Sandor is back, baby.
Woo woo.
I usually find comparisons to the theme of the show and its title, but I truly think this episode, The Broken Man, is a clear depiction of the Hound and no one else.
Nice.
Nice.
This is why I love the feedback so much, because we have Sir Matthew of House Repp, and he picked up on other kind of broken man.
Yeah.
But they're like lesser version of how broken the Hound is. And we have Lady Alicia just
This
thinking
is the main focus on the Hound.
it's the main focus. So I love it. I love that so much. Lord Johnny of House Stower. Hey, Lord Johnny.
What's up?
We love the picture of the bunch of chickens.
Yeah, he sent a picture of a bunch of chickens. I'm wondering what he means by that. Is that a bunch of Brotherhood Without Banners guys that Sandor is about to destroy? what do the chickens mean? Send us some more details.
Let us know. Drive one of your amazingly painted bikes over and let us know.
Yeah. Also, Lord Johnny of House Store totally just won a painting competition for a motorcycle that he painted. Looks amazing. House of Color, KOLOR on Facebook.
It was unreal. And did you? Okay, so I looked at the bike. It had like the reddish orange and the gold.
Yeah.
Didn't the gold part kind of look like it had dragon scales?
Oh yeah, they're like little hexagons in there.
Oh,
like,
is that what it is? Hexagons?
I think hexagons like honeycomb. It's like a honeycomb pattern. It looks like scales.
It gave me like this like scaly look. It was so badass.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Love it.
Really great. Amazing.
Congratulations.
Looks like it glows. Yeah, congratulations. Well-deserved win. He defeated a guy who apparently had never been defeated before, too. So,
boom.
Yeah. Actually, that was the first show that he brought it to. He's now won a second show / painting competition, so...
That's badass.
Fuck yeah.
I think Sir Johnny lives fairly close to me.
Yeah, somewhere out in California out there. Sir Patrick of Hindsight. I think this is an episode about broken men juxtaposed with strong, intact, steadfast women. Olenna actually grows to hate respect Cersei. First time I caught this. Cersei, you love your granddaughter. I love my son. It's the only truth I know. She's paraphrasing Reigns.
Oh.
Only a cat of a different coat. That's all the truth I know. Ooh, interesting.
Ooh, my goodness.
That's very interesting. Arya struts around with her hands behind her back like a rich person's. Hashtag Tyria. Her hands aren't behind her back for long. Note all the smoke in the air after she emerges from the salt water. Just saying, rebirth is a bitch. Just ask Sandor. Another theoretical resurrection is reborn from salt and smoke.
I think that's it. Salt and smoke. Like a ham.
Yeah. Ooh. The Frey siege camp is so orderly and disciplined. I can't wait to see the Blackfish in season 8.
Yes.
I am confused by that. So orderly and disciplined.
The Blackfish in season 8?
Yeah, so maybe he's thinking that the Blackfish escapes here.
Oh,
even though Jaime is told that he's killed next episode or whatever coming up.
Oh, because we don't see it. Because he's
so
all about tinfoil. Yeah.
Jaime stares into the Black River before his parley with Brynden, symbolic of confronting his dark reflection. Ooh, very nice. This is what he becomes if he stays at war and never gets back to Cersei. Also, he drowns in season 7, so...
Oh my god.
First time I recognized Volantis. Yara tells Theon to cut his wrists if he can't go on, and I swear I hear a bit of the creepy Melisandre music when she does. Ooh, interesting. I'll have to go back and listen for that. Sansa questions Davos' tactical wisdom. To her credit, he did just give terrible advice. The mountains that, quote, create a natural fortification, unquote, are exactly how Ramsay and 20 men were able to sneak in and wreak havoc. Classic.
I don't think the Boltons know that Jon is on the march. He knew that Stannis was on the march. So he maybe had figured out that they would stop there. But I don't think the Boltons know that Jon is coming yet.
Yeah, I think you're right.
What do you think about that?
Also, Jon probably knows the area, so he would be familiar with potential ways that the Bolton army might try to sneak attack them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think the Boltons know necessarily that the Stark and Wildling army is on the way. Although Ramsay did invite him, come and see.
Lord Brandon of House Ushry Hill. Have you guys heard the theory that when one of the Stark kids do something majorly wrong, it costs them their direwolf's life? I thought that was a neat thing to bring up. Ooh,
yeah, pretty interesting.
So let's see. Sansa betrays Arya.
Yep, right off the bat, we lose Lady.
Robb maybe marries Talisa.
Yeah, marries the foreigner and loses track of the war effort by sabotaging the Frey alliance.
Bran goes into a warging state and gets touched by the Night King.
Yep.
And Rickon gets caught by the Boltons.
Gets caught. That's bad. Bad enough, I guess. Something majorly wrong. He also didn't zigzag, although he was. But
the the wolf was already dead. Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. I like that.
What else? Yeah, Nymeria is still alive because Arya's been pretty good.
And Ghost is still alive.
Ghost is still alive because Jon's been squeaky clean.
And that's it.
Yeah. Very interesting. Hopefully our Starks behave themselves to
Sansa,
keep those wolves around.
Jon.
yeah. Well, Sansa already lost her wolf.
Oh wait, what? Yeah, what am I talking about? Arya.
Yep. Thanks everybody for writing in. Always good to hear from you.
Yes, thank you guys.
All right, that's our show, episode 99. Thanks for listening, everybody.
I can't believe we're almost to episode 100.
Yeah, I know, right? It's so cool. A huge thank you to John Bailey, the epic voice guy from the Emmy-nominated Honest Trailers, for announcing our show. If you'd like to donate or subscribe to support us, you can go to paypal.me/GOMPodcast or patreon.com/GOMPodcast to donate an amount of your choosing. There are links to both at gameofmicrophones.com.
Doing some online shopping? Go to gameofmicrophones.com and click on our link to Amazon. As an Amazon associate, we earn from qualifying purchases.
Any contribution you make helps, and you can help secure the continued existence of Game of Microphones. We'd like to thank our patrons, Sir Matthew of House Repp, Lady Lucy of House Roberts, Lady Candace of House Tews, Lady Teri of House Theodore, Lord Jeff of House Allen, Sirenicide, and Luke, the Low Duke. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate your support.
7 blessings to all of you.
Yes. And make sure to check out Sirenicide, the serialized horror drama podcast featuring me and Archmaester Stitches. Go to Sirenicide.com and download it wherever you get your podcasts. Next episode, we'll be covering Season 6, Episode 8, No One. Give it a watch and send us your thoughts. We'd love to read them on air.
Episode 100 for Game of Microphones, you guys. That's
totally
awesome.
Benchmark. If you'd like to call, you can always call us at 813-JOFFREY. That's 813-563-3739.
If you would like to write in, you can email us at ravens@gameofmicrophones.com.
Check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/GOMPodcast.
Imslap! You can also listen to Game of Microphones on YouTube, BitChute, and Steemit. Just search for Game of Microphones to find our channel. Likes, comments, and shares are also appreciated.
We're also on Twitter, Instagram, Gab, and Minds at GOMPodcast.
And we're on Tumblr too, at Game of Microphones.
All right, that's our show.
Thanks for listening.
Nice.
What kept you going?
8.
No, there's a reason you're still here.
Aye, there's a reason. I'm a big fucker and I'm tough to kill.
No, a reason. Gods aren't done with you yet. I think it may foreshadow how the Hound goes. I think the Mountain's going to kill the Hound if it happens.
Really?
If it happens,
oh,
yes.
Man, if there's a Clegane Bull, you think the Mountain's going to kill the Hound?
I think so.
Damn. That's dark.
As Sandor is still stacking the wood, he goes, "He was a woman."
Yeah, right.
And Ray just starts busting up laughing.
It's ma'am.
And now here he is rolling with a scepter.
Septon. Yeah,
a septon. I always get those two confused.
Septa?
A septon for man.
Septon is the guy. A septa is our females, and then
and a scepter.
The sept is the place.
Oh, the sept. There's no scepter.
Nope. A scepter is it's like a staff kind of. But yeah, we haven't really seen. Maybe this high septon has a scepter. I bet.
Okay.
The Lord of Light, Sandor seems to have some kind of like perverse connection with the Lord of Light ever since his youth and the burning of his face when he was face to face with his god, you could say.
Yeah, and Ray even brings that up in this scene too, because Sandor goes, "Why haven't they punished me?" And Ray goes, "They have." Right. They burned his face.
And then just like the torment that he like constantly lives with, like the regret of his, of things that he's done and things he's been forced to do. the shame he feels as like, I have it written down, was it his torment is his atonement and his redemption will be his repentance.
I love it. That's amazing.
And it's like, another like mental loop or I don't know.
She's creeping.
Yeah, and Olenna is like, what the fuck is she doing here? Does it move or talk?
It.
Hilarious. Yeah. Yeah. Septa Unella has been my true friend and counselor. And I'm like, Jesus. And Olenna is like, what the fucking fuck? What?
Brainwash.
Like, what is going on here? She's like, this is madness. Just like Mace said last episode, remember?
Madness has had its day.
Yeah, it's having another day now, apparently.
Arya getting stabbed by the waif.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's true. I think Arya might be taller.
She's such a shrimpling, she's tiny.
She is. She's so tiny. I was like, fuck.
What a cool looking old woman they got for that scene, though.
Sweet girl. And I was like, oh, fuck. And then she pulls her face off, and it's the waif. The plain Jane crazy fucking waif.
The plain Jane.
I hate her. I hate her.
Totally happiness and excitement as she's planning to leave, and her storyline is accelerating and exciting things are happening, and she's on her way home.
And now she's going back. Yeah.
And the music is all happy.
Like, maybe she'll go to Winterfell and see Sansa.
And then ring. Stabbing her.
Yes.
Our houses are both fucked because of you and your stupidity. And I'm like, ba-doom, bada motherfucking doom. Bam.
Right.
She's like, I made a terrible mistake and I carry it with me every day. And Olenna's like, good, fuck you.
You should.
You're the worst. Olenna is on fire here. She is roasting Cersei on an epic level.
I love her so much.
Yeah, right. If you got half a brain,
you'd peace out too, woman.
Yeah. And if you have the intellectual bandwidth of a gnat, you would get out of here as quickly as you can as well. And Cersei's like, never. I'll never do that. That's the silver lining, is that you are tasting the shit end of the stick.
Yes, for once. You've lost, and I love it. Oh yeah, I love this.
Yeah, it's like, that's like saying I have a bigger cock than anyone in the Unsullied army. Come on, man. Like, Lannister army is full of twats. Will somebody get this man a castle?
I was like, I don't remember who this is.
It's the floppy fish. None of that. Good thing we're friends. We'd be fucking you in the ass right now. Yeah, she's so cute too. And it's Lady Lyanna Mormont. Lovely little Lady Lyanna Mormont. Quadruple LM. Little Lady Lyanna. Yeah, 4. And it's just great to see two honed minds clash or dance.
It's cathartic.
Yeah, it definitely helps a lot. He needs to get that violence out somehow. And if he can't smash people, he's going to smash wood. Sandor's like, God damn it, I'm trying to be peaceful and nonviolent, and I'm trying to find the path of righteousness.
And I have to do the right thing. I have to get vengeance.
Yeah, but I need to kill a lot of people because of this. And he's getting drawn back to violence because that's what he does. That's what he's good at. And luckily for him, he's going to find a path where violence and righteousness will go hand in hand, basically, as he fights against the army of the dead. Madness has had its day in King's Landing, but he's about to unleash some madness across the Riverlands, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
You got 2 years?
Yeah. Do you have 2 years? You can start us out? And then he looks right at Sansa. He goes, I served House Stark once, but House Stark is dead.
Damn.
Oh, fuck. And everyone's just like, fuck.
Yeah, Jon looks like ruined.
Yeah.
Burn.
It's horrid. It's so bad.
So rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're mentioning how the Ironborn are in Volantis, and he's like, I'm staying the hell away from those nutcases.
Fuck, we have 2,000 wildlings, 200 hornwoods,
143 Masons,
and 62 Mormonts. 62. Don't forget the 62 Mormonts. Arya.
Arya. Arya. Arya.
Arya.
Arya.
Arya.
Arya. Arya.
Arya. Arya.
Arya.
Arya.